In the White House, President Eisenhower signs the proclamation that makes Alaska's entry into the Union official, nearly 92 years after Lincoln's Secretary of State bought the territory from the Russian Tsar for $7 million.
The Alaska Wild Project podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors.
The Bait Shack, located on Ship Creek upstream of the bridge. Can't miss the bright red shack. They are the go-to fishing gear rental and guide service on Ship Creek. Tight lines and fish on. Come hook into the action with them. Hit them up at thebaitshackak.com.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance company, providing services such as weekly lawn maintenance, driveway sweeping, snow and ice management, and tons more. Get your free estimate today at lawnproak.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located at 4th Avenue across from the old 4th Avenue Theater. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. From reindeer dogs to bomb euros, they've got you covered. Anchortown Dogs, your local gourmet hot dog and sausage cart.
Menegato's Accounting, locally owned and operated advisory and tax accounting solutions. Passion, experience, diligence. Learn more at menegatosaccounting.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted, Alaskan-made cider. They also have a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out at doubleshovelcider.com.
Serrano's Mexican Grill, 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. The Northern Lights location has their new tequila bar. Check it out. Also see their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
AKO Farms, located in Sitka, Alaska, built from the ground up with concentrates as their single motivation. Find their products such as their sugar wax, full spectrum diamond sauce carts, and more at the Treehouse AK and other dispensaries around the state. Ask your local bud tender about AKO.
TheTreehouseAK.com, located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bud tender what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off. The Treehouse, where the culture lives.
Marijuana has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming and addictive. Marijuana impairs concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. There are health risks associated with consumption of marijuana. For the use of only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children, and marijuana should not be used by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
Tailored Restoration 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com. Hey.
What you got over there?
Just a little.
What'd you find?
Little piece of cardboard.
Oh, that was I think.
Hey, what are you doing over there?
Putting together that little shelf last.
She really wants to chew on that ram head over there.
I can tell. Yeah, she's sniffing it
after
out
it.
pretty good. I think this is the first time we've got a pooch in the house.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. She's young, huh?
Yeah, she's just over a year.
Throw your earphones on, Mike. There you go.
Yeah, I just
Them
got
ears
her.
on.
I just got her about 4 months ago.
Rescue.
Yeah,
Sweet. She's a sweetheart. She's a nice girl.
she is.
Yeah, she's got some good coloring to her.
Yeah.
Pit mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good size.
Yeah. Perfect. I was gonna say perfect truck and car dog, man.
Yep. Yeah, I felt bad. I was out of town a couple weeks. She had kind of a hard time without me, but
Adapting.
yeah, my
Yeah.
neighbors were kind of watching her. She was still staying at the house, but by herself. She tore stuff up a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yep,
And
as
she
expected.
hadn't done that before. She
missed
she
you.
hadn't left my side for 4 months since I got her, and so she didn't know what to do, you know.
Missing you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were working in Cordova for how long?
I was in Cordova for about 2 weeks. I'll be
Okay.
going back here in another week or so.
Is it wet?
It was really wet. Yeah, it was raining hard every day.
Just the whole time.
Luckily, we got a lot of inside work, so we were kind of timing it right.
Nice. Yeah, right on.
Any chance we'd get a little break in the clouds, we'd run outside and start welding outside.
We'll save those outside welds for when the sun comes out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, welcome to Alaska Wild Project podcast episode number 37. We have the Iron Dog boys here. We got Mike Morgan and Chris Olds, at Polaris Mike and at Chris Olds. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having
you.
us.
Appreciate you guys coming in, man. a couple of house things here. If you haven't gone to the website yet, AlaskaWildProject.com, go ahead and go there and pick yourself up a hoodie or a shirt or anything like that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. And we do have the tickets coming soon for our game meet party on February 19th. If you're into Heather's Choice, the promo code is Alaska Wild. I think that covers it all, right?
Pretty much.
Right on.
Yeah, man.
Right
yeah,
on.
Patreon, too. I don't know if you threw that out there.
Oh, yeah, the patreon.com/Alaska Wild Project. If you want to support us there, any way you can support us, that's great. As you guys know, sponsors pay for a lot of
big.
things that you guys
happen.
do and things that Alaskans are trying to get out there because it's not cheap to get out and have fun.
I wanted to ask about the sponsorship. We'll just dive in, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I was really curious. I was thinking about it on the way here tonight. Like, how does the sponsorship thing work?
Well, I mean, if we weren't sponsored, we wouldn't be doing it. I mean, our big one's Polaris. They help us out a lot. So if it wasn't for Polaris helping us, we probably wouldn't be doing this after, 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years consistently. So
Right.
obviously you've got to perform, and they like good results. So
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not sponsoring number 29 coming in, coming in last.
Chris and I work pretty hard, and we take everything pretty seriously and try to have fun, of course, at the same time. But, yeah.
I'm sure the competitive nature of just your own, drive on top of,
Yeah.
and then having some success, right? I'm sure when you
Yeah.
guys got in the running for a win, it was like, oh, you just want to do it again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely helps. I mean, I told my wife that in 2010 was the first year I won, and I told my wife that year that if I didn't get a top 3, that was going to be it for me, just because the sponsors were hard to come by. And
Right.
Financially, it was just hurting the family too much to put all my life savings into the race. So
Yeah.
but winning kind of gave us that little bit of, obviously sponsors are a lot easier when you're doing good. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
but you have to perform, and you got to put it. Essentially you got to put everything into it, because if you don't,
Yeah.
you're not going to perform. So
Yeah. So coming up in 2021, Chris, this will be your 20th or 21st Iron Dog race.
yeah, I'd have to do some math there.
Yeah,
but
2000 you
somewhere
said,
around there. I
yeah.
did, but the race was canceled in 2003, and I didn't do it in 2005. So, but I've done it every year besides that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, damn near. So 17, 18 years you've raced.
about 20 years, I think.
And Mike, you said 2010 was your first?
2009 was my first
2009.
one. So this will be my 13th this year.
Okay.
Done 12 total now, and 10 with Chris. Chris and I have gotten 8 top 5s together,
Yeah.
and we have gotten 6 of those were top 3s.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I was like, man, you had told me what, I want to say the last 5.
The last 4 were top 3s. We got first, 18 and 19, and then we got second.
Back to back first, 2018, 2019.
Yep.
Yep.
And then second place in 2020 last year.
Yeah.
Correct?
And then 2021, this past race, we
this
got
year.
third.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. I mean, just finishing the damn thing is
Yeah.
a win in itself,
It
right?
is.
I mean,
It
just
is.
We hold ourselves at pretty high expectations. So
yeah.
it's either win or bust. But
Yeah.
we teach the rookie workshop, and give everybody their own. Everybody has kind of their own expectations, but just tell everybody that realistically, finishing is a win. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a big part of it. I mean, lots of years there's less than half the field even finishes, so
Yep.
I mean, it's a big part. I mean, just crossing the finish lines is an accomplishment.
so
I
many
mean,
variables
anybody.
just to get through it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're in Alaska. The weather's crazy. The weather and Mother Nature dictates everything. So,
Right. Right.
Yeah,
not
you
to
gotta-
mention the sleds and
I was going to say, the
Yeah,
equipment
body
just gets
and-
the shit beat out of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like the hardest
it
damn
does.
stress on a snowmobile, I would think you
Yeah.
could possibly do.
And we've developed a really good relationship with Polaris over the years. So we're kind of on their R&D side of things, where we're testing and helping
beautiful.
them develop equipment and
Okay.
improve every year. We just got done with a conference call with them last week regarding basically everything from last season to what we need going
Yeah.
into this season, what they need from us and what we need from them, and it's just been a good partnership.
Does Polaris create a separate like racing machine versus like a mountain machine? Or they just adapted a little bit?
So a little bit, yes, correct. They're kind of their own machines, like a mountain sled compared to a trail sled. They use a lot of the same components, but it's a longer sled, so they share some of the components. Or
they share kind of the same backbone, like
Yep.
the bulkhead and the like the way things are laid out. And then, obviously a mountain sled's longer, like Chris said, and they kind of, they build them accordingly to what they're purpose built for.
Yeah, and this is the first year Polaris has built an actual race, cross country. They had what was called an XCR, which was really, I guess, close to being a pure racer. It had all the good parts on it.
It was a consumer sled,
but it was a consumer sled. This year it's an actual like a race. I mean, it's made for racing.
So can the average Joe buy that machine?
So you have to apply for it.
Okay.
This one you can only get through the race program, and by doing that, they only built 150 of them. And so by doing that, they can make more aggressive changes. They can, they're only building a few of them, so they can be more aggressive with the build on it and cater it more towards racing.
And snowcross has been that way for quite a few years. So, like the snowcross racing, it's the same thing. A person can't walk in and buy a snowcross sled unless you have to apply for it and get it through a race program.
The snowcross sled is that black one in that picture there.
This one right here?
Yeah, and snowcross racing is like the closed course stuff that the guys down south do.
Yeah.
They've got the national circuit, the big jumps and
Okay.
And then that sled on the right is the one we'll be racing this season.
And the reality is the average consumer, if they bought a snowcross sled and took it trail riding, they would. I mean, I don't even like riding.
They wouldn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even like it. So
for pleasure wise, it's just pure racing.
It's real stiff.
Okay.
It's not comfortable to
it
sit on.
needs to do 80 on bumps.
Yeah,
pretty much, or faster.
Yeah, it's just not set up for an average person riding it down the trail. So that snowcross sled is just not.
And even our sled is probably too stiff for the average Joe. I mean, you got to ride it fast for it to work. I mean,
smashing bumps.
You got to hit stuff hard for the suspension to work.
What would you say is the average speed during the race?
Our average speed includes fueling and oiling, so it's probably in the 60s.
It's like I can't remember what it was. And in 2000, they did all the math and computed the speed per mile because the course has changed over the years. And actually, it was 2019. Mike and I hold the record for the fastest average speed of the race.
Yeah,
it was a pretty. It was weird because the weather. It was a lot of snow that year, and it didn't seem like it was that fast, but it was just consistent. There wasn't any.
We didn't have one problem with the machines.
Yeah, we didn't have a problem with the machine. We didn't have any like on the clock work other than a couple little maintenance things.
I mean, we ran 2,000 miles and we spent less than 5 minutes in Nome doing some preventative maintenance to them.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we also built, that's the intent, is to build them to the hill before the race so that you don't have to work on them, basically.
And test the shit out of them, too, right, before you race?
Yeah, so Chris and I get 2 separate sleds for testing and for training.
Oh,
okay. And so we test. We won't race with something we haven't tested. So we'll set the practice sleds, test sleds up identical to what we're racing on.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then we'll try and put as many miles as we can on them so that we know that they're going to hold up for the race.
We usually put about 3,000 miles on, and there's no better way to condition your body than riding the sled, I mean, you can go to the gym.
Deal.
You can go to the gym all year, and then you go on your first ride on the snow machine, and your whole body's sore.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Imagine it just breaks it down. I mean, and muscles and...
It's more like your back and your core. I mean, your legs, I guess. Everything, really.
Yeah, ligaments and things that...
The things that get the sorest on me is like between my shoulders.
Yeah, that muscles between the shoulder blades will just from pulling back on the sled. You just... I mean, I can be at the gym all summer. I can ride my dirt bike. I can be doing rows, and I'll go on that first ride, and my back is
She's
just...
playing with me over here.
I can almost equivalent it to, like, you can do all the gym stuff you want, but it's nothing like, putting on a backpack on and actually going on a sheep hunt. It's a whole different story.
Correct.
You can do as many,
Yep.
flat top goes as you want with your wife or whatever, but it's a whole different thing when you're actually in the moment with all the gear on and all the stuff.
Yeah, there's no better conditioning than riding the sleds.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing that compares to it. So
is there a perfect condition to ride, like the race?
As far as weather?
As far as weather, as far as the amount of snow?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, I mean, that's a huge part of this whole race. I mean, you can't control it. That's a big, you can't control Mother Nature.
Yeah.
So there could, I mean, obviously, ideally that you want snow, but you don't want too much snow. You don't want, you don't want 2 foot of fresh snow, because then you're breaking trail.
Hey.
You don't want, no snow, because then it's hard on the machines and on the person.
Got it.
So, you got to kind of, so there's kind of an ideal of having some snow on the course. It's easier on the machines. To me, riding, like, also temperature wise, the sled's kind of like a little bit cooler, cooler weather as opposed to warmer. I like
the ideal temp is in the teens, probably.
Yeah. I actually like between, say, 10 below to 10 above is actually, I think, a really good, where you don't overheat, but you don't, there's also, you don't, when it's warmer than that, when it's much warmer, once you start getting into the teens, the snow starts melting around you or on you, and then you can get damp,
Gotcha.
And it just causes other issues.
So perfect temperature for yourself and as well as the machine.
Yeah, I mean, once it starts getting down to 10 below and colder, it starts becoming miserable,
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man,
that's the big challenge in the Iron Dog, is trying to set the machine up for, well, you talked about weather patterns, so dressing for all these different weather patterns, we try to wear one set of gear, obviously, and then we're layering beneath based upon what the temperature's doing, how we're running. Like, for instance, if we're in the trees, we're working hard, you're going through the bumps, you don't need many layers, if any.
Yeah, no wind is really affecting things either, right?
No, not really. Whereas if you're on, like, the river or the coast and there's a lot of high speed running, you might want to layer up more. Especially on the Yukon, that's in the interior, and it's typically 20 below is warm for that,
and wide open,
and
usually,
wide open,
right?
yeah. So you're not working very hard. And then the big challenge setting the sleds up is we're going through every type of different terrain, from tree running, big bumps, coastal running, high speed, small stutter bumps.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me into the gear that you guys wear. Obviously, Climb is probably one of the best known riding gears that you can wear. Is that one of your guys' sponsors? Is that just something that people know that this is the best?
Both. I mean, I mean, it's obviously our sponsor. I mean, they're one of our big sponsors, and but even when I wasn't sponsored by them, that's what I wore.
Yeah.
Just because it was.
You can't beat Climb. Their stuff is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see all the guys riding it, and I wonder why it hasn't made a transition to like the hunting community or the fishing community.
They've talked about coming out with some stuff. The thing about the hunting community is it presents a whole lot more challenges, because there are a lot of companies that are making gear and that use Gore-Tex, which is what Climb uses, and
I think it has to do with Gore-Tex, and you basically, they don't want everybody stepping on everybody's toes. I think.
So basically, what I kind of heard was that Sitka, Gore-Tex owns Sitka.
Yep.
And Gore-Tex has a really good relationship with Climb as far as the motorsports industry. So why would they compete against their I don't know.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's
like a non-compete thing.
That's kind of presented some challenges, I think, because they have talked about coming out with some hunting gear.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's been times where we left Big Lake one year. We left Big Lake at 50 degrees, and we came into McGrath the same day, and it was like 30 below. So I mean, that's a big change in
huge swing.
I mean, it's a huge swing.
Dude.
So
and the gear,
your gear has to. I mean, you got to have a wide range of, and it's got to work good in the warm, and it's got to work good in the cold.
Yeah.
Chris and I we've used it's called the Valdez Parka, and it's got the Gore-Tex Pro shell, and it's the most breathable Gore-Tex textile or version of their Gore-Tex, and it works really good. It's super versatile, and you layer accordingly beneath it.
Is there a store in town where you can go find a lot of that Climb gear, or is it mostly online?
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of
dealers. quite a few dealers here in town. Most of the snow machine shops carry it.
Hatcher,
Eagle River
CC,
Polaris.
all those guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Eagle River Polaris has a lot.
Yep.
Alaska Mining
Alaska
and Diving.
Leather.
Alaska
Leather's
Yeah.
also.
Alaska.
Oh, yeah,
Anchorage,
yeah.
Yamaha.
Yeah, Anchorage. There's a lot of dealers. So.
Yeah, their gear is hard to beat, though.
You guys ever get a gear manufacturer to like, hey guys, try this out and try to do the switch or anything, or is it like tried and true? Climb is the one.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I think
just
Chris
like
used to get hounded a little bit, but
I
they
did.
pretty much knew that he wasn't going to
HMK or somebody like
I
that.
got I mean, you don't even want to talk about other gear, but
But yeah, if that's a problem, I don't want to. I was just curious if you guys like messed around and tried anything like new that was like, hey, I mean, obviously,
I think the thing that sets like Climb apart from like North Face and all these companies that are making ski gears, it's got to be durable to handle a snowmobile environment.
yes,
We're going through trees, we're thrashing through brush.
Yeah.
So the durability of Climb is superior to North Face and Patagonia and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I had some of that, mountaineering gear when we first started out, and it did work pretty good, but it fell apart. I mean, it's
too thin, right?
It's too thin. The butts were out. I had to, right before the race, I had to have my coat patched. I had to have them completely put Cordura on from the knees down because they would just shred. I mean, just absolute shred.
And not to mention the running boards on our sleds. I mean, we've got
chafes the material and tears it all up, right?
Where's Climb based out of?
Out of Idaho.
Out of Idaho.
Rigby, Idaho.
Yep, Rigby, Idaho.
Got it.
It's good stuff.
We went down there one year, me and Chris.
Check out their facility and stuff.
Yeah.
We went and rode with them a little bit and went to Jackson Hole and watched the hill climb race. They got the biggest hill climb race in the world at Jackson Hole, and we went and checked that out. That was pretty cool.
That was.
Wow.
Nice.
It's the best of the best out there on that race.
Oh, yeah.
You guys mess around with much of the hill cross or hill climbs or any of the other kind of racing?
So back in the day, I used to do it all. I used to do hill climbs and hill cross.
So you go out to Valdez and Arctic Man and do the whole thing.
Yep. Did it all. I kind of it just kind of got burnt out on doing everything, including Iron Dog. And like I said, once I had kids, it made it tougher for me. Tougher to be gone all the time, and so kind of decided to just concentrate on Iron Dog really, and dabbled a little bit, off and on throughout the years, but
we have talked about getting some new mountain sleds and just going and having fun and just putting the racing stuff aside a little bit more
and go just ride.
You see these guys that just chase the weather and the snow, and you're a little jealous. But I mean, we get out every weekend, and so we
get into some pretty epic places, and we get to see some pretty cool stuff.
Bet, man.
Yeah,
wildlife and everything.
You get those days and where the weather's good, and you get you're just out in the middle, and whether it's an awesome sunrise or sunset that you just see, it's unbelievable sometimes. I mean, it's just
to add to that, pure misery and
there's that too. You can't forget about
what
that.
Are we doing out here again?
Sometimes there are days like that.
Yeah.
Like, why do we do this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What do we get into this for?
But we go out every week, and really at the end of the day, that's pretty rare. I mean, that's a pretty rare occurrence. I mean, there's very few times that you kind of say like, why are we doing this? You know? But you kind of at the end of the day, you're kind of feel kind of accomplished going out for a long ride and doing what you're doing.
So when you guys are like leading up to the race and obviously you're training, is it kind of like you want to start off with you're going to do 50 miles and then you're going to do 70 miles and
work up to it?
That's exactly that's kind of been our we used to do things a lot different. We used to do a lot of little rides. That used to kind of be our kind of when I first started riding, it was, you'd go out and you'd ride to the river and back a couple times, and I mean, really, it's only, probably like 60 miles all together, and we'd go do that a bunch, and that was kind of our, and then over the years, we've kind of changed the way that we started training, and really it kind of starts from the beginning of the year where we do kind of a small ride. Maybe we'll go out to the river for the first ride if the river's not frozen, and then our second ride we'll go to Squintna, and now we're up into the 120 mile range, and then now we're going to Finger Lake and we're doing 150, and that progresses that's kind of our goal every week is to try and go a little bit further than we did the week before, and it kind of does.
And we kind of break trail as well.
Yeah.
We're constantly trying to break trail. Basically, the big push is to get into Puntilla Lake, Rainy Pass Lodge.
Gotcha. Okay.
So once we break trail into there, it's basically fair game. After that, you're going up through the valley, and you can kind of go as far as you want.
Yeah, the snow isn't deep once you get just a little bit past. I guess it would be Rainy Pass. I mean, once you get past that, the snow.
The valley opens up and
go up over the pass. Now you're going past Farewell, and now it's just like
once you get to once you get
like
down to
valley.
the South Fork, there's usually not very much snow over there.
Basically, to get to that point, we're fighting trees that have fallen over the summer and all kinds of stuff. So
so we're usually like cutting trees down, and
it's real tight running from basically Shell Lake to Rainy Pass Lodge, which is a 50-mile section.
Yeah. When you're carrying a chainsaw and stuff like that?
Hand saws.
Oh, okay.
Actually, we have taken chainsaws up before in the past,
Okay.
but it just depends on the year. But yeah, so our goal is to try and get a little bit further every weekend, and it's usually a workout because, like you said, we're getting stuck, and once we get up
snows
there,
every week. I mean,
yeah.
So when you're training, are you training on the actual race trail?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you see other guys that are training as well?
Oh yeah, there's definitely guys that are training. Some guys do with the same thing that we do. There's a couple teams that'll do kind of the same thing we're doing.
Yep.
Okay.
Some people.
Some years we see a lot of teams out there, and some years we don't see too many. And
Yeah. We can usually tell who's gonna do well based on how much we see them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Who's the competition out here?
Because if we're out there and we're seeing them constantly, we're like, these guys are putting in some miles and some time.
Yeah. Are you guys friendly with most of the other competitors?
Oh, yeah.
Is it kind of like
Actually,
a brotherhood?
It's a really good group. I mean, all the guys that are racing.
We try to help all the Polaris teams because we want the Polaris teams to do good.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as even the competition, the other brands, we're good friends with everybody, and I think everybody really kind of gets along. When I first started doing this race, it was definitely it was a lot different. I mean, there was guys that would. You heard stories of people sabotaging other people, and it was pretty. That was pretty. But the group that's kind of the main core group that's kind of racing now. I mean,
we're all
that's
pretty
not
fair.
That's not something that I'm not concerned with somebody sabotaging our sleds.
We get to our layover points in the race, and we're all kind of bullshitting about our days and how things went. And what happened to you guys and what happened to you guys. And so we're all friends. I mean,
I feel like it's more of like a community and looking out for each other out there versus every man for himself. Go screw yourself and good luck.
And that's something else in the race. You'll learn that real quick. That
it's going to come back and bite you in the ass.
It will for sure. You help someone out, and they're going to help you, and vice versa. I kind of explained like in the rookie workshop. If you're just stuck, and you can't really expect someone to stop and help you out. But if someone does help you, you're definitely going to
repay the favor.
Yeah, you're going to repay the favor, and there's been some little bit of. When guys don't do it, it becomes a big deal. But like I said, for the most part, everybody's helping everybody out.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, like I said, we're trying to get to the end. And like I said, even competitors like on different brands and stuff like that, we're all kind of helping each other out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have learned that. I mean, it's like I said, if you're not, eventually it's going to come back and bite you, and karma's going to get you. And
just like anything.
They'll go by and flip you off if you don't.
You drive by the guy on the side of the road that needs help, and eventually you're going to be that guy on the side of the road.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And I mean, out there, there's nothing out there. There's not going to be another. Potentially might not be anybody else coming behind you. So you got to help people out. So
absolutely.
And I mean, like I said, there's also a certain aspect to it. You can't expect everybody to come and just set up camp and help you out, do something that if you made a dumb mistake, but at least check on the guys. And like I said, you're going to end up pulling a ski or doing something to somebody at some point in time.
Yeah,
there's like an etiquette almost to it, right?
sure.
Like some unwritten etiquette or rules to just looking out for your brethren on the trail?
For sure. I mean, it's a safety thing for starters. You want to make
There
sure
it
that
is.
everybody's.
Yeah.
You want to make sure everybody's. I mean, that they're at least safe and good to go. Even if, at minimum. I mean, at minimum, you're making sure if they're stopped.
You're not going to leave someone for dead out
Oh
there.
Yeah.
man, I mean, there's wolves and there's all kinds of crazy stuff out there, man.
It could be 60 below out. You know.
Yeah. Well,
Would you say are all the racers from Alaska, or is there
Gonna
people
get
that
asked
come
that too.
from out of state?
There's some people from out of state. Yeah, there's quite a few people from out of state, I believe, this year. I'm not really sure.
Even global, even. I mean, is there some guys that come from Russia and some of the other Nordic or northern countries?
Some of the Russian boys coming in?
Some Nordic folks.
There's got a lot of interest, I think. I think the thing's just logistically, obviously getting here and
some Canadians. We've had quite a few Canadians.
Yeah, that makes
well,
sense.
there was a team. So Corey Davis from Soldotna, he won with a guy from Minnesota in 2017.
He was actually from Canada.
So usually, if a good, there's a cross country circuit down south, and if one of their top or good riders pairs up with somebody from here that's pretty good, they'll usually do pretty good.
He was the only. I believe he's the only out of stater that's won though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's only happened one time.
Interesting.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So when you're running the race,
I mean, it helps to have connections, being local, having the connections
definitely.
and the.
Yeah. Well, we were talking to Eddie Burke, and we brought up someone who's leading their way up to get into the Iditarod, and they have these guys that come from Norway and Sweden and Canada, and the logistics just seem insane, to bring your whole team and your dogs and the food and all the stuff. So that's what got me curious is like, do people do that with the Iron Dog?
And there's definitely some people that the last couple of years, a team from Canada has come the last 2 years. And
from Maine, over in Maine.
Yeah, there were some
Damn,
guys
that's a
from
long
Maine.
way.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever gone and raced somewhere else? A similar type
I
of race?
raced in Minnesota a little bit on their circuit.
Okay.
Not much, but yeah, a little bit. I'd like to do. There's a 500-mile race that takes place down there. It's a week before the Iron Dog, so it's kind of bad timing.
That's a tough one.
I even kind of wanted to do it a couple times, but it's too close to the race, and then to do well, you have to you got to kind of hang it out a little bit down there, and the chances of getting hurt, or you start going up when you're doing that.
Got it. Yep. Would you say like the Iditarod guys? Iditarod is like the top. You know what I'm saying? Is the Iron Dog? Would you say worldwide is the number one top race?
I mean, I think it definitely ranks up there as like the toughest race. I mean, there's just so many factors
it's the
that
most
go
challenging,
into it.
probably.
Yeah, it's definitely the most challenging. I mean, you gotta put everything together. You gotta have the machine. You gotta have the navigation. You gotta have the support. You gotta have the physical endurance. I mean, it's a lot.
It's one thing to do the race and to finish. It's a whole nother ball game to do the race to win.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Now, we were talking before we started recording on how the race has changed over the years, the routes, the mileage that people have gone.
Yeah.
Now, kind of walk us through the changes
evolution.
that you've seen and why they've made those changes.
Yeah. So before I raced, it was it originally started. It was actually from like Big Lake or actually Anchorage. I can't remember to Nome. So it was basically
just following
the northern route of the Iditarod Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And our race is 2 weeks after the Iditarod, or before the Iditarod, so we kind of more or less break trail for the dog race.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
And so, and then it kind of went from that, and then they decided they wanted to make it bigger, and so they went to Nome, and then they went from Nome to Fairbanks, and that's kind of like at the time when I got into the race.
Yeah.
Let me back up. They actually went from Nome and then back to Big Lake, or back to the
all the way there and back.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
To Nome and back.
Yep, they went to Nome and back, and they did that
one time in 05.
Was it one?
I think one.
Well,
year.
they did it in 05, but they also did it earlier. They did that back in they did it back in the 90s.
Okay.
I don't remember what years, but
from Big Lake to Nome and back to Big Lake.
Yep. They did that, and then they decided that they wanted to get more communities involved, so they went from Nome to Fairbanks.
Okay.
And that kind of stayed for quite a few years. Like I said, there was exception in 2005. They went to for whatever reason, they went to Nome and then back, and then 2 years ago
There's been a lot of talk in the last 5 years. Well, like, all the spectators and everybody's kind of like, well, the race is kind of decided once you hit the Yukon. It's all river running.
Which is not true.
So they decided to kind of bring it back to Big Lake for another 500 miles of bumps.
Gotcha.
Which can really shake things up.
Yeah, to create more variables and
change the outcomes maybe.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago, they actually started in Fairbanks and finished in Big Lake.
Yep.
And so they made it backwards, basically. It wasn't, I think it didn't turn out very well. And so they tried to do something different again. And so then they decided to go from, what did they do?
A couple of years ago?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, they added the Kotzebue loop.
They added adding the Kotzebue loop.
And then coming back to Big Lake.
Then last year they decided to
2020 we went from we started in Fairbanks for the first time,
and then they also had added the Kotzebue loop.
Added the Kotzebue loop and finished at Big Lake, which was
so you went like to Nome, Kotzebue down.
We kind of did the course backwards with the addition of the Kotzebue loop.
Okay.
And what's the plan this year?
This year is the same as last year. Big Lake to Nome, back to Big Lake, in addition to doing the Kotzebue loop on the way back to Big Lake.
So,
okay.
So we actually went from basically Big Lake to Nome, and then Nome to Kotzebue.
So doing the Kotzebue loop adds Buckland, Selawik, Kayana, Norvik, Kotzebue. So it adds 5 villages into it, and everybody up there in that region is just diehards snowmobilers.
They probably love when you guys come through.
It's awesome.
Rooting you on.
There's an annual
awesome
race up there, and I've been super successful up there, and they're diehard Team 10 fans up there.
So, speaking of Team 10, I want to ask about Team 10. Like, what is... Like, did you guys choose that? Was that like bestowed upon you? Where does Team 10 come from?
That was kind of Chris's.
Yeah, I was Team 10 back in the. I don't remember what year. It's not even like my favorite number or anything. I don't remember what happened, but
it's catchy, man.
Yeah,
It's a good number.
Yeah, so I think it was like about the last year that Matt and I raced back in like either 08 or 09. I think we were Team 10, and then I kind of just carried it into 2010 and 11, and we've just kind of stuck with it. It's an easy number to.
Yeah. Does anyone else ever try to be Team 10? And you're like, hold on, guys.
Yeah, just everybody hold on. Everybody hold on.
Hold on. We got the leg wrestle here, boys.
Taken, boys.
Yeah. The advantage is they do give returning racers get preference over numbers.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah, so we, as long as we're racing and we want to do it, they would give it to us. But it's just kind of just the number that's kind of stuck. It's just easy to, like I said, it's an easy number to remember.
Yeah.
So I was reading that there before the pro class is the expedition.
Yep.
Expedition race. Is that like more rookie people or people that are learning?
It's just more of a trail ride. It's not an actual race.
Just kind of doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's totally different from like the race class, because you don't, in the race you have to make your stops. You have to get to a certain point on this day, and there's a cutoff time. As far as
really?
Yeah, so if you don't make it to Nome.
I think it's like Nome within 24 hours or something. I'm not sure.
There's cutoff times, and so I mean, the recreational class is more or less, bring a flask, have some fun. Just
Gotcha.
Cruising
do some ptarmigan.
Sure. Maybe 10 years from now you'll be doing the expedition class.
Yeah.
And so kind of going back to like the evolution of the race, like we were talking about, kind of the course changes, but like the kind of the evolution of the race is that the machines have changed over time. Back then it was kind of more of a survival race where they were there was no air support allowed,
and you couldn't even actually when originally you couldn't even get parts from anybody. So basically, if you needed anything, you had to carry it.
Yeah.
So
nowadays it's more, the machines are more reliable. We're allowed to have air support. It's more or less a sprint race from checkpoint to checkpoint, really. I mean, it's really fast paced now.
But you still have to be a little careful, because if you're getting parts, that means you're going slow.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you're breaking stuff and taking stuff out of, that's the whole thing about the Iron Dog, is anytime you work on the machine,
you're losing time.
It's against your time.
Okay.
So even if you get to your layover point and you have like a broken A-arm that you have to replace, you have to do that on the clock. It goes against your time.
Is there someone there that's like, clock
right
it,
on.
timing it,
Oh,
all
yeah.
that.
The machines go into impound right when we get to the layover points, and nobody could touch them. You can't even grab a pair of goggles off of them. Like if you forget your spare pair of goggles
Yeah, we
or
basically-
GPS
Yeah, you
or
can't
whatever.
touch them. Yeah.
Oh,
Can't touch 'em.
so the repair is done by someone else? Like you don't have to be
No,
the one
No,
that...
we repair them.
Okay.
But so we either do it when we get to a checkpoint, we're still on the clock, and then we tell them that we're off the clock, or we get off.
We
go
declare
back.
when we're off the clock, and
Yeah.
we say, we're free, we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, gotcha.
And then our time gets cut off. And then, like, if we say we forget something and we still need to do some work on the sleds, or we round up the parts that we needed, then when we go on the clock, we go back on the clock at a certain time, however many hours we laid over, and now we're on the clock.
Yeah.
And
We're
working on our
repairing the
sleds
machines
instead of moving
on our
forward.
time.
Yeah.
Got it. Got
Okay.
it.
So
That's the whole element to the iron, and that's why we build the sleds to the hill from the
Put
get-go,
all
so
that
that we
time in
don't,
it up front.
so we don't have to work
Yeah,
on
you're
them.
not doing DNR during the race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Man,
I want
we
to get
should've
into the
reinforced
logistics.
that bolt back then.
Yeah, so we're, Chris and I we spend extra attention to detail on every nut and bolt on the machines just to make sure that everything is spot on as far as, and we know what breaks. I mean, we've done the race enough. We know exactly what part's going to break at this time. We know what to look for.
Yeah.
I want to go into the logistics a little bit. So are you guys the ones that are deciding the logistics and like how much gas you're going to need here, or is there like a team
Yep.
of people that are doing it, or it's just
Nope.
you two?
We're basically, I'm kind of a number cruncher. I'm always crunching numbers like, okay, the snow conditions are like this, we're burning this much fuel.
Oh,
We're gonna
you're
need-
the geek of the crew.
Yeah.
All right, on. You go full geek on it.
I kind of lead Chris and I, and he's fortunately he's trusted me to lead us, and
Seems like it's working pretty well, Mike.
it's working good. We've got
Yeah.
radios, so we're always communicating. I'm like, hey, we need, we're gonna need oil here. We're gonna need, this much fuel. What do you think? Yeah. And we've got my dad flying in the plane. He's a really good pilot, and
Oh, sweet.
we have communication with him as well. When he basically just kind of passes over us, and he'll do a couple loops, and then we'll send him on to the next stop.
Okay.
So he doesn't really follow us a whole lot, but
Was he running skis or something so
Yeah.
he can actually land or
yep,
whatever?
he's running hydraulic skis on a 180.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow,
he's a
that's
commercial
cool.
pilot, and his 180 is pretty dialed in. He's got it's full IFR rated plane. He could land when he can't see and whatnot, and he's got the experience.
Yeah.
He's flown in-
Do most of the top 10 teams have a guy that's flying with them
Yeah.
and kind of communicating and all that?
I would say most of the teams have a pilot following them. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And a plane full of parts, and
There she is.
Yeah.
yeah,
She's quite the character.
Yeah, she is. She's a good dog.
she's
I had a question about. Obviously, we're going to get into the gear and stuff, but I was just thinking, and as I was looking at the website, like hydration, and like, do you guys carry like some sort of something on your body to like have water all the time, or is that like in a backpack?
Chris
I do.
typically carries a bladder.
Yeah,
Okay.
I carry like a camelback type.
You guys mind if I grab another cold?
Oh no,
Oh,
help
please
yourself.
help yourself, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so I carry something on the first day because you're going. There's some long sections going from Squintna to Puntilla is a pretty long ride. It's 50 miles of just windy, going super slow, and
60.
Yeah, no, you're going much slower. You're going much slower than that. But it just takes a long time. So we try and drink at every checkpoint. So when we get to a checkpoint,
Okay.
we're also trying to drink what they have. Typically there's water or some drinks at
Gatorade or something like that.
yeah at the checkpoint. So we try and make it a habit of making sure we're just getting something at every
Hydrate,
checkpoint. Yep,
hydrate.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I've had some years where I didn't do it and kind of paid the consequences, getting all
Cramping up and
yep.
stuff. Oh, it's
So
got to
that's
be
why I
miserable,
just-
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What about the food situation?
same thing. I mean, we try and sometimes as the day goes on, we'll try and have a little snack at the checkpoints. If there's
Okay.
something available, it might not be much, but try and have a little, bite of a power bar or something to that effect.
Yeah, you probably aren't trying to get full, a full meal. I mean, you're not wanting to.
No.
You bring some fried chicken into that.
Cheeseburgers.
I mean, this day and age, the race is so close, you don't have time to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to know them, and we got to know them this past year, and we were third place by about 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, the top 3 teams were bunched up within 5 minutes,
I think you told me that the guys that won didn't even know that they won.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
They were just thinking that they were in second or third,
second.
man, we're going to finish. And
they
rolled in. So, they're like, wait, we won?
So the team that was in the lead had a 40-minute lead in Skwentna, which is the checkpoint before the finish, 70 miles before the finish, and they had some mechanical issues and got stuck in some deep snow out on the big swamp out of Big Lake, and the team that won, Brad and Robbie, went around on the main trail, and they didn't even see them.
Yeah, so they didn't even know. So they didn't know that they passed.
Yeah, they were just cruising and then finished and hope for the best.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, it's a big celebration." They're like, "Oh, you guys won."
Unfortunately, we were third, so we didn't get to see it. But everyone says that their reactions were classic because it was kind of like they got there and they're like, "You won," and they thought everybody was joking around.
Oh, really?
And then I think they realized that. Wait, where is the other team? And
I guess we are the first ones.
Oh, that's hilarious.
They said it was pretty classic. Their reactions.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, and Daniel, I think you were going to ask something, bro. So I apologize.
No, go ahead. I got it here. I got it written down, actually, so I don't forget.
Yeah, you're good at remembering coming full circle because I'm just like rabbit hole. What was I going to say? Crap. Oh, yeah. So them guys thought they were going to take like a shortcut or like a quick corner cut and bit him in the ass?
We all call it the cabin trail shortcut. And from the start of the race to the finish throughout that week, it had snowed a couple feet or a foot at least.
It was deep.
And so they got out there with a motor that wasn't running too well, towing the other sled, and they got stuck in the snow and just they panicked. They should have stayed on the trail, the main trail.
Oh, wow.
They just kind of, I think the pressure got to them.
Well, you also don't realize. I mean, they
didn't know they had a 40-minute lead out of Skwentna.
Right? Yeah, and then on top of that, they also that cabin trail isn't a normal trail. So and the way that we kind of went into it this year was different. So there wasn't like even a main trail that went that way. Yep. So. And then again, we're gone for the week and we're coming back and you don't even realize that
how much it snowed.
And of course they're the first team and now they're breaking trail.
Man. And they're under pressure. They got 2 motors one's blown and they're towing with another bum motor. And so they're trying, just bad pressure kind of got to them, I think. Whereas they should have stayed on the main trail.
Is the trail marked somehow?
It's pretty marked.
It's pretty marked,
Lake.
But but like I said, those guys probably.
Okay.
But also at the same time, they probably. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought about that there was that much snow in that area. I mean, we got back there, I was like, holy crap! There's just. I mean, this.
Yeah.
I was trying to find Mike. It was deep, and I was, I was wallowing around out there with the, good running sled.
And that's the thing about the Iron Dog or any race, it's never over till it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, so last season they had the top 3 teams stay at Puntilla, where they sent the rest of the field on to the next stop at Skwentna for an overnight hold, they called it. And so the top 4 teams maybe.
I don't remember. It might have been 6.
And so we were all like, good job, guys. You pretty much got it in the bag. Like, good job. It's going to be a good one. And so
you jinxed it.
And they were on Polaris, so it was like right on.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
And the Skidoo team ended up passing them there at the end.
I'll be damned.
I can't remember. In 2018, Mike and I had some issues right at the end of the race.
Yeah, we had a 50-minute lead the night prior.
Yeah, and we won by 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
We won by 4 minutes, and we were
skin of your teeth.
Yeah, we were going backwards, not forward. The whole last part of the race. So we were.
I was like,
we were
bolt's
getting
falling
nervous.
off here. The ski's about to fall off over here.
I was towing Mike, and it's the first time in the race Mike told me to slow down.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
He's back there just dragging.
He didn't like it. I was going full throttle, and he didn't like it.
He was towing me off some gnarly stuff.
How long does the race take in general? Like days or like
so it is.
It's a
week. It's a week long. Our actual hour, like I was telling you,
8 days now.
Yeah.
With Saturday to Saturday, because we start on Saturday and we're finishing on Saturday.
I don't remember what the total hours were on the course last year, but
50 and some change.
Yeah, 50 hours.
52 hours or something.
That year that I was telling you that Mike and I, we did the course, the 2,000-mile course in 34 hours or something, something
like that. They made a 34. Beer. They made a beer after us. Broken Tooth Brewing. Moose's Tooth made a beer after our record time.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool, man.
It was called the Iron Dog Ale or Iron Dog Lager or something.
Oh, right on,
man.
So do they have like certain times at checkpoints you got to be overnight a certain time or certain hours?
Yeah,
we declare our own layovers.
They change it
changes all the time.
It changes every year is kind of a little bit different, so I don't really even want to talk too much about but yes, essentially we have a certain amount. Basically, what we're kind of given a certain amount of layover that we're supposed to take.
Typically, all your top
here and Nome.
Yeah, typically all your top teams on the first day go to McGrath, which is about 350 miles out, and we'll take like a 12 or a 14-hour layover.
One day?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
350 miles in a day.
Last year we did
about 700 miles.
700
miles in one ride, one.
Yeah,
Jesus.
That was the longest. That was the longest we've. Typically, like the longest would be like 500 miles.
Yeah, we did that to make it easier on ourselves the next day.
Yeah,
so we basically did that we did like that hard push, and we got like a 14-hour rest, like slept like crazy.
Yeah, just
dog tired.
I was so tired going into McGrath because we basically rode from Kotzebue all the way to McGrath.
Yeah, which is across the state in one day.
Yeah, man, that's insane to even think about.
A lot of the teams.
Are you guys listening to Alaska Wild Project podcast in the headphones on the way, or how's that working?
Yeah, we will be.
There we go. I needed something to kind of keep me awake because I was actually that's how tired I was. Kind of going into McGrath, I was just like, man, I just can't wait to get there.
Yeah, the motor just probably starts to kind of like almost hypnotize you.
Well, are you allowed to listen to music or whatever you want as you go and zone out? Or
we
actually have radios so we can talk back and forth to each other.
Okay, gotcha. I bet it's more like you want to hear what the machine's doing and stuff like that and be aware.
I mean, I wear earplugs. Obviously, there's a lot of sound, so I wear earplugs. But with our headphones that we have in there, you can still hear each other pretty well.
When you get into those long days, it's just kind of mind over matter. It's like, come on, 100 more miles, and we got a 14-hour rest. It's
just zoning.
Just suffer for another 100 miles and just sleep hard.
Do you guys like really feed off each other? Like you can sense when Chris is like starting to waver on his focus or vice versa, and you're like, hey man, I think
that's probably
keep going, baby. You're looking good. Like you kind of start.
Come on, we got this. We got 100 miles left.
Hyping each other up,
I think that's one of the reasons why we've been as successful as we have been. Is just I think both of us can read each other pretty well. And have kind of have that. Kind of know where each other's at and know mentally where each other's at, and we're both pretty positive most of the race, and if we're not, the other guy's bringing the other guy up instead of the other way around.
It's a team race, so you need to cater to the weak link no matter what, and so you gotta
telling someone they suck and stuff like that's not gonna help. That ain't gonna help anybody. I mean, it doesn't. We're all.
And usually when Chris tells me to slow down, I go fast.
Yeah, exactly. He does. He's not joking around.
Yeah. Because imagine a guy, an 8-day run, and it's strenuous and kind of stressful, and then the pressure of all of it. One guy is going to have a good day and a bad day, and it's just not all peaches and cream every run.
Like I was saying, I kind of teach the rookie workshop and tell people that all the time that at the end of the day, we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. That's just part of it. We're going to have an issue in the race, and you can either be pissed off about it, be mad at your teammate that he did something stupid, or you can just try and figure out the best way to get through that situation, which is
learn from it.
Learn from it and move on. Because if you don't do that, like I said, telling your teammates,
you got to communicate. Really, you do.
Yeah, effectively.
It's like a relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I bet.
Exactly.
It's almost like a married couple at times, I'm sure, right?
For sure.
I hate you, I love you. I hate you, I love you.
Yeah, so we say we're teammates, not partners, just to
we kind of figured that out.
Let's take a quick break real quick. If you guys got to use the bathroom or something, we're going to give a shout out to some of our sponsors here. as you guys know about sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
Taylor Restoration, 24-hour emergency services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold damage, post-emergency cleaning, remodeling, and the aftermath, including burst pipes, overflowing toilets, downed trees, fires, pet accidents, and vandalism. Tailored has an emergency response number with trained professionals available to help you anytime, day or night. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, or Matsu, Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
The Treehouse AK, your one-stop dispensary located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Be sure to ask the bud tender about their deal of the day because honestly, there's always something good on deck. And guys, listen, this is where the culture lives. At the Treehouse, their dedication to servicing consumers has been developed through a lifetime involvement in the cannabis culture. They're committed to providing the highest quality products at whatever value your budget affords while always maintaining the deep-rooted principles that have carried them this far. Their focus is on relationships over transactions, and you can always depend on them to treat you with the respect you deserve. Hit them up at thetreehouseak.com. You must be 21 years of age to enter their store.
Serrano's Mexican Grill. Since 2008, Serrano's is Anchorage's own new generation of old cocina. Their menu showcases the passion and love of their rich heritage and unique family recipes that have been passed down through generations. Oh, for sure. Serrano's goal is to embrace and display traditional flavors using the best ingredients that are available. They focus on making everything from scratch daily. In-house menu includes handcrafted corn tortillas, Serrano salsa, carne asada marinades, and chorizo. But don't take their word for it. Experience the tradition and sabor for yourself. Locations on Tudor and Northern Lights. Northern Lights has the tequila bar. Check out their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I was going to...
Go ahead.
I had a question I wanted to ask.
Yeah, get after it.
So you mentioned the food thing was like kind of what was ever available. Do you guys have like a nutritionist or okay, first off, do you have like a diet prior to the race? Is there some sort of nutrition plan and food during the race and like a recovery process after? Like, do you guys get that nitty-gritty with it?
A little bit, yeah. So, I'm definitely getting up there in age, so I got to watch what I eat for starters.
Yeah, yeah.
Mike's a very healthy eater as it is. But I definitely like I diet-ish, most, especially this time of year till the race.
Gotcha.
During the race, it's a little bit different. It's really, you in some ways you can't be picky because you depending on where you are or where you show up, you're gonna get whatever's being. Okay. Someone's gonna serve you something.
Okay. Oh, so they're providing a meal at the checkpoints.
Yeah. So well, yes and no. So. Most checkpoints will, like at places that we stay, like where we lay over, and that's probably the best part of the whole race is like when we go to the villages, they want us to come into their home and stay with them.
Oh, is that how that works?
It's awesome, yeah.
It's almost like a host home type thing.
Correct.
Okay.
And so people will have, we've been doing this race long enough now that we kind of have certain people that we stay with, but, even prior to that and so on and so forth, there's just people, they're just wanting you to come in. They're excited for us to be there. They want to be a part of it, and they're wanting to have us stay with them, and they cook for us. So again, it's not, and I'm not a picky person, so I pretty much will eat anything. And during the race, you really, it's about consuming calories. At the end of the day,
whatever it is, right?
Yeah. So, I tend to eat quite a bit, during that point in time, and, kind of the diet kind of goes out. Obviously I'm just not eating a bunch of junk food, but kind of getting my hands on whatever I can, whatever we can eat.
Carbs and proteins and fats and things of that nature.
Yeah, everything, yeah. So I'm pretty lucky. My body, like I said, I'm not picky, and my body isn't too picky either. Yeah. So
that's good.
Well, you mentioned getting up in age, and I'm getting up in age, and I find that I got to pee all the time.
Man, you beat me to it.
So I wonder, like, are you like, hey, Mike, I got to take a piss, man. So we got to pull over, or how's that work?
Yeah. So, I'm pretty lucky. I don't have that issue, at least at this point in time. Last year, we did stop once, and I peed. It was during that really long run we kind of talked about.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, we're not close enough that I know that I can't hold, I'm stopping, and I'm going to be comfortable. But It's actually it's strange because you will hydrate. I mean, we will hydrate and drink massive amounts of water, and it's crazy how much we're drinking. But as soon as you start riding, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because you're sweating it out or what. But you actually end up. You can pretty much ride. I mean, sometimes it seems like if I have to pee, it might be at the first checkpoint, just because I've been drinking all morning. Yeah. But it seems like once you get past that point, you'll end up riding the whole day without peeing. It's just weird. It's just a weird. I don't know if it's
and then the second half of the race, we're having to pee all the time.
Yeah, I think it's because you just kind of get you're not moving as much. You're like I said, I was telling them about.
Hey, come here.
We got to close the door.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just I mean, we will stop and pee if it really like I said, if it's really bothering us. But for the most part, we can go. We try to hold it till at least the checkpoint, and then the other teammate can take care of the sleds as far as getting fuel and stuff, so we're not losing a bunch of time on the clock. So, but that's not to say that we haven't peed on the trail, because I still done that plenty of time.
I was waiting for him to tell me that they're like, yeah, we developed this like diaper, like NASCAR style, man. I was like, come on, man, tell me you guys are doing some shit like that, please.
I've heard stories of tubes running down the leg and stuff.
That's funny.
We don't go that far.
I'll say, 30 below. Imagine that stuff will freeze and it can get real stinky and that. Nah, I don't know if it's worth it, right?
No, we'll just stop.
Yeah. I feel like it's maybe like a mental. Like your body almost like kind of shuts that off because you're so focused on ripping it 100 miles an hour and trying not to fall out,
I've held it all the way to McGrath.
Yeah.
I mean, after an 8-hour day.
Yeah. You can almost like mentally 12. Like lock it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. It's like I said, it seems like almost seems impossible, especially like I said, when you're drinking that much, but it just, like I said, just between blocking it out or sweating it out or whatever it is, you just...
Well, you mentioned the checkpoints. Are there any checkpoints where you guys got to like set up a tent, or is it always like you're staying with somebody or in some building or some abandoned building?
Yeah, we kind of time all our stops to.
Yeah, we try and stop it, but that's not to say that Roan is just a little cabin out in the woods. Actually, we're not even staying there anymore.
We have been forced to lay over there before.
Yeah,
because of mechanical issues, but.
Yeah.
Are you prepared to stay the night somewhere out if you have to?
Yeah.
You bring a tent and a sleeping bag and stuff like that?
Yeah, safety-wise, we're required to carry a 20 below sleeping bag and a bivvy bag,
we're not ever gonna take that off unless we're in a life or death situation. But once we get to this, I mean, even the remote stops have at least a sleeping bag or something to.
As long as it's warm, really. I mean, there's been a couple times where I wish I would have had my sleeping bag. When we
because we vacuum seal our sleeping bags when we have them tucked in some pretty small areas.
Oh, so it's all really compact. Yeah. So is there like some sort of cargo thing on the back of the sled, or you wear a backpack?
No backpack. There's a Fine Line Interiors. Doug Dixon, he does. These waterproof bags, and he pretty much does bags for all the Iron Dog teams, and we'll have him make us like a custom bag that fits our sleeping bag, and that's the biggest item we have to carry.
Yeah,
gotcha. And what sleeping bag do you got? What's your preference?
No preference.
Yeah, no preference.
Chris has a nicer one than me.
That's one of the questions we ask all the guys.
I actually have a Montbell Super Stretch.
Got it.
Mine's a REI 20 below down bag that I could compact as small as I can.
Yeah, I had a Western Mountaineering 30 below bag. I just use that for hunting now.
That's what I have, a Western Mountaineer.
Yeah, it's a nice that bag is amazing. It really is.
What was the guy's name you said who makes the dry bags?
Doug Dixon.
Fine Line Interior, yeah. So
is he from up here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Fine Line Interior.
Does he do things for other than that? I mean, I'd love something for like my raft and stuff like that.
He does boat covers. He does really good really nice boat covers and enclosed.
Okay, so pretty much whatever you want, size, whatever you can make it.
Any kind of upholstery work he does. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Dry duffel bag type stuff.
All our bags are waterproof. Yeah.
Ooh.
From Doug.
Damn.
Yeah, he does
Sparked
good.
my interest, boys.
Yeah, I like that.
I like dry
that.
bags, man.
Yep.
I was out in the Sound this weekend, and it was wet.
Yeah.
I don't care what dry bag you had. Your shit got wet.
Yeah.
Man, it was just like unstoppable.
His stuff has good zippers too. We never blow the zippers out.
like
that's
real
important.
strong, reinforced,
Yep.
sealed seams and all that.
He's a good guy,
He's
Doug
been
Dixon.
doing it a long time, so he knows what it takes. To,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that
He's also
most of the guys are wearing technical gear like Climb, or is there some guys that are out there with like the old, big like parka style stuff? Obviously,
No.
there's been an evolution there.
There's a little bit of that, but for the most part, I think the guys that do it, they don't do it for very long. Whether it's that year or the next year, they're definitely not.
If they're wearing anything like that, they're going to get to the first or second checkpoint and they're going to throw it away. They're going to toss it. I mean, there's no way you can't
just
ride
too bulky,
you can't ride the sled aggressively comfortably.
Got it.
You're just going to overheat.
What's the prize for winning the Iron Dog?
It's changed over the years. I mean, it was $25,000 for the longest time, and then it went up to $50,000 back 10 years ago, and then
For the first place team, 65.
65, and
Not to mention some of the contingencies that are in it.
And last
Is there like you make this point, you get like a bag of gold and
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So Chris and I won 18 and 19. I think we won almost 90,000 each time.
yeah. Now keep
But
in mind,
that was that was
everything.
we were first place to Nome, so we got first $10,000 for first to Nome.
Got it.
So that was like the most we capitalized on every contingency we could have.
yeah.
So for first place, it was what 60 or 50 those years.
Yeah.
And that's a variable by the sponsors and
Yep.
who's
Correct,
putting in
yeah.
and stuff like that.
And,
Yeah,
and
Blair.
so, and it's funny because I remember the first year I won, there was the first year, so I think the first year I won, it was the first year it went up to $50,000, and everyone's like, wow, man, you guys made a lot of money. And I was like, yeah, I spent way more than that racing.
Oh, yeah.
So, if anything, I've got probably enough money to take my wife out to a nice dinner, and that's about it. Yeah. So I mean, even though it sounds like a lot of money, we put way more into it. Our actual budget's pushing between 80 and 100 grand to do the race. So,
Oh my God! Wow.
But we're pretty well set up now with
Yeah.
sponsors.
I
and
mean,
stuff.
obviously sponsors supplement a lot of that, but I mean that's. It takes some money and effort to get the stuff that you need to do the race.
Yeah. So,
most of our testing on the machines is spent with shocks. That's what we spend most of our time doing. And durability testing, which we're on kind of the same general backbone, chassis this season, so we know exactly what to do as far as durability, but suspension is what we're always evolving, and we work with a company out of California, Walker Evans, which is basically kind of proprietary to Polaris. They build all their shocks for their consumer sleds and our race sleds and everything. So we work close with them, developing their shocks and developing our setup. And like I said earlier, the challenge of getting the machine to ride good in all these different conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's a big part of our success is having machines that ride good.
Chris is really good with shocks. He's been with Walker Evans for a long time.
Yeah.
Been riding Walker Evans since 2002. So, but they, you have to kind of set it up to be good in everything. And so with shocks, it's kind of like anything else, everything's kind of a compromise. So, you can't set it up for the big bumps and expect it to do good on the little bumps, and vice versa. You can't set it up for the little
you gotta
bumps.
find a balance.
You do. It's a balancing act to where it does everything. You want it to where it does everything good. It might not shine at everything, any one thing, but it does everything really well, and that's kind of what you want to try and, because eventually you're gonna see every single type of bump there is.
Got it.
You're gonna hit. It doesn't matter if it's a square edge like a big ice shelf to a big roller to
round off,
to like little teeny stutter bumps to, I mean, it's all it's all different, and it's got to do well in all the different types of bumps. So it's definitely a fine line trying to get that perfect setup to where it does good in everything.
And Chris and I do all our own shock work. So
rebuilding them and all that kind of stuff.
Revalving, tuning the shocks. We do our
Seals
own
and the whole thing?
We do our own tuning. So
we're constantly changing and trying to, like as Mike put it, we're evolving all the time.
It's an advantage and it's a disadvantage because now we got to take that time to do our own shocks, whereas some other guys have somebody else doing them. But I have more confidence doing our own
you're in
shocks
tune with your
because
parts.
we're responsible for them. If anything goes wrong, we can point the finger right back at ourselves.
Point it right at us. Point it right at me.
I had a question about maybe seeing if you guys can elaborate on the air support side.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's
My dad's
making the
been
call
huge
and he
for us.
drops off a shock or a spring or something. Do you have like an allotted amount of those drops? Do you have like some sort of restriction?
So last year there was a huge, with COVID, last year was completely changed everything. So you could technically, actually last year we didn't have any air support at all last year. So
wow.
We
they didn't allow air support.
They allowed air support to McGrath. That was it. So you could have
you
air
better
support
have
up to McGrath.
all of it there.
They didn't want excess personnel in the villages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't want the additional people, So last year there was air support, but it was limited. I've done the race both with air support and without air support. We're pretty lucky. Mike's dad's got a perfect plane for it. He's a commercial pilot. He knows the area. He knows. I mean, he's
part of the team.
He's a huge part of the team.
Yeah.
He's he knows how to get places that other guys can't. He's been like I said,
nice.
There was one year there was only two pilots that made it to Nome, and he was one of them. So
I bet
it's
they all feed off him. They kind of follow him, and he's real comfortable with the weather.
More or less like the godfather of that like whole area when it comes to.
I mean, he's been flying. Yeah, he's been flying since he was, 16 years old or whatever, and his plane's capable of flying. It's IFR rated plane, so he could fly through any kind of weather conditions.
So it's it's an advantage in that sense. There's one of the things with Iron Dog, and you'll see there's always people spouting out about how having planes is not fair. So that's always a big one is like, they think it's a huge disadvantage if you don't have a plane.
But if you take last year, for instance, where we didn't have planes, you saw basically the same outcome.
Your
top teams were your top teams and your,
Same kind of groups that were up there. Well, we're still there.
The way that I explain it is we kind of, we hit it on a little bit earlier. If you're working on your machine, you're not going to win the race.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really
if you're pulling parts out of the plane.
So if you're pulling parts out of a machine, you're
not necessarily an advantage.
In some ways it's not. What it gives you an advantage of finishing the race. It could give you an advantage of helping you to finish the race or help you finish it in a quicker manner than if you had to run around trying to round up parts. It might be a little bit easier. But as far as winning the race goes, I don't, like I said, I don't know that
whenever you're working on the machine, it's against your time. So if you're pulling parts out of that plane, it's going against your time.
Yeah. So that just means you're
so you hope you never even need the plane.
Yeah, the air support is something that's like
it's more of a convenience.
You don't really want.
More of a convenience. Correct. I mean, they carry our dirty or clean underwear and our toothbrush basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he taking the dirty underwear out too?
That's all I want to pull out of the plane, really.
He's like, no, I just wear one pair.
And the other thing too is you can't rely on the plane. I mean, the weather could come in. You cannot. If you're relying on your plane, you're making a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So if you think that you're going to have parts at the next checkpoint, again, it's a huge mistake.
Bank on it.
Do not bank on it. Weather, everything can change. I mean, anything can change. So there's been plenty of times where when we would have liked to have had air support and we just didn't have it because, like I said, the weather. Sometimes the guys make it to McGrath or even like say Galena, and that's as far as they go because the weather's so bad on the coast. So that's pretty common.
Or sometimes going to McGrath, they get held on the other side of the mountain range and they're not able to make it
stuck.
to McGrath.
Yeah, and so now they're completely behind. And planes have a hard. I mean, I wouldn't say hard time, but we're moving at a fast pace. By the time we get on the river and the coast, I mean, we're cruising at 90, 100 mile an hour, and those planes, it's not like they can make massive times on us. I mean, they've got to pretty much stay
Once we hit
us.
the Yukon, they pretty much need to hit the Yukon or they're not going to catch up to us.
Yeah.
And be on that straight line with you guys.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I mean, they got to be.
We're doing 100 mile an hour on the Yukon for, miles on end. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
So during the race, are you guys riding like side by side? Are you one of you's taking the lead and then you switch? And then second part to that question is, does the time stop when the second guy comes into the checkpoint?
Yeah, good question. So people ask us this all the time about how Mike and I typically would stay within, like, say, sight range, typically. And there's some exceptions to that. On the Yukon, the snow, the snow dust can get that really cold.
Extend off.
Yeah, sometimes I don't like sitting. I don't like being in complete blindness.
Eating his dust.
It's not only fast running. It's cold, and so the snow dust just lingers.
Yeah, it doesn't settle out.
Oh, it just floats.
It does. It floats. It doesn't settle out. So there's some, like I said, some exceptions to that. The last few years we've been running radios, which help because then we know that the person's still coming.
We'll run within a mile of each other. At the most.
Yeah, so we
half a mile.
So typically we very rarely ride side by side. Most of the time, the trail's only one machine wide. Most of the places, so we're behind. We've kind of changed our strategies throughout the years. Mike pretty much leads now. I kind of, when we first started riding, I led most of the time, and then over the first couple 2-3 years, kind of
let the young gun get up in there, huh?
Yeah, I broke my back in 2013, and so Mike did a lot more kind of leading that year, and kind of has taken over from then, and he's done a really good job. So pretty much Mike leads, 98% of the race. I mean, there's certain times where I do get out in front of them and lead a little bit, sometimes at a big lake, and sometimes in certain areas where it makes sense. But we kind of just have a system now, and
you do it works, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it works good. And Mike, we're kind of opposite too with the way that we navigate. Mike is a trail. He's a trail navigator. He goes off of the trail. He's very in tune with
numbers, snow depths. You mentioned that.
I know the mileages where all these gnarly creeks are, like where these bumps are.
Where to take the right line and the right turn.
And I'm more of a GPS navigator, so it works really well with him just kind of just going. And then if I'll get a feeling like, hey, maybe this, I'm not sure that this is right, and then I'm looking, and then I'm telling Mike, we need to be going to the right or to the left. And there's certain times where visibility when you can't see anything. And I'm actually in the back because now I can kind of keep an eye on Mike. I can just tell him, hey, Mike, we need to be going, like if we're out on the ocean where it's just everything's just white. There's no definition. There's no line. There's nothing. Yeah. I could be looking in the back so that Mike's not just sitting there looking at the GPS. I can look at the GPS with my eye kind of on him.
Well, he's just ripping.
Usually it's like, hey, we're going way out in the ocean. I'm like, I know.
Good. I'm telling him, I was like, hey, that's water over there. We need to be going the other way.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of telling him from the back, sometimes where to go. And so we've kind of, like I said, over the years, it's just something that we, kind of in tune, but he's basically typically leading now, and it just works really well. And so time wise, it's based on the last person that comes in. So if Mike is there now,
it's funny. The last few years we've gotten pretty close to the water's edge, and the rest of the field pretty much follows our tracks, and they're like, "Holy crap, you guys were right next to the water!"
Exactly. What are you guys doing?
I don't know. We're checking out the seals.
Yeah.
But there's
salty air.
It's crazy because there is some teams like the guys that aren't in tune with each other.
Yeah, they don't know
there'll be guys that come into checkpoints, and you'll hear that like their teammate doesn't ever show up, or shows up an hour later.
Where's your partner?
Exactly. It's kind of like, where's your teammate? And the guy's like, I don't know.
That's a good question.
You sure? I want to keep an eye on that guy.
Yeah.
Last time I saw him, we were skipping some water.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of weird to some of the guys that are, But anyways, we typically, like I said, we're typically kind of within eyesight if we can. Like I said, there's some exceptions to that.
Yeah.
What's the GPS system you guys are running on?
You beat me those good questions, bro.
We use a Garmin 276 CX. It's there's a couple newer ones now that the guys are using. It's got a fairly decent sized screen.
The Garmin's,
it's just mounted on your handlebars there on the front of the machine or something?
We mount it next to the dash.
Okay.
Basically right in front of us so we can see it, and we can kind of, get a visual as well.
Yeah.
It's really hard to read, though, if you're doing 100 mile an hour looking down at that.
Yeah. You don't want to be looking down you don't want 100.
Basically, the only time we use our GPS is when the visibility is down to 0 and we're questioning where we're at.
Yeah.
That's the only time we really use it. Because we've done the race enough times. When we get in that open ocean, we know, Island Point. We know that point over there. Okay, we're, half a mile off of that. And we're kind of we've done it enough times where we
Gotcha.
don't have to rely
So
on
you kind of know where you're at.
It's when the
already.
visibility is really bad and
Yeah.
you don't have any reference points anymore. When those start going away, that's when you start using it.
Yeah.
And you're going a lot slower at that point, typically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the favorite checkpoint?
Oh man, that's a tough one. It's kind of a loaded question too, because they're all.
Yeah.
No,
You know-
nobody's listening yet, guys. You're not gonna offend anybody tonight.
No, it's
Or what's some of the
I
favorite
kinda-
for
I-
whatever reason?
Well, I mean, one thing
There's some
is
beautiful checkpoints, and there's I like getting into my hometown and Nome.
I was gonna
with
say
everybody
the finish,
cheering
right?
for
Doesn't
us.
have to be
the
the
finish is-
easy
yeah,
answer.
heck,
Oh, the
finish.
finish is the.
No, I mean, McGrath is always, because the first day is tough. It's usually one of the toughest days of the
Yep.
whole race. So when you get into McGrath and you've put a long day behind you,
And you had a good day. It's
And
a
you
huge sigh of relief.
Big
it is.
accomplishment,
It's
right?
it's a
Like-
huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
You're ready just to get warm and have something to eat, and so
Yeah.
that feels good. But
The rest of the race seems easy compared to getting to McGrath.
Yeah.
I mean, minus the weather coming up or whatever.
But we kind of hit on it a little bit before, but coming into the villages, and it's always been and it still is my favorite part of the whole race. I mean, you get there, Iron Dog is we have a very positive light in the villages. I mean, they want us to be there. There's a lot of people come out and watch us, so it's just exciting. I mean, it's cool having people come out and check you out. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be at 3 in the
I'm
morning.
sure the whole village comes out.
Lots of
Oh,
time.
yeah.
There's some
Big
places
time.
that yes, there's some places when it feels like the whole village is out there, and it could be at any time of the night, and it could be, any time of the day, and it's just awesome. And then you get there, and they treat us like kings. You get there, and they want to feed us, they want to house us, they want to be a part of it, and it's just awesome. I mean, it's like I said, it's probably one of my favorite parts of the whole race is just being able to be a part of the community for that little bit of time that we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like the highlight
Yeah.
coming through there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
What's,
they're our highlight too. So
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely,
bet, man. That's
well.
cool.
And then after a long day, it's got to be nice to see some people
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
to pull in and see lights
Yeah.
and people cheering and
Talk
being
to
like,
people.
oh man, there's some civilization.
Yeah.
Running
I
that
mean-
open wild country.
Well, that's the thing is we do so much training, and we'll see a couple teams here and there throughout the days, but until the race, we don't really see a crowd. We don't, we don't really see the
We
hype
don't
of the
even-
race until the race. So we're out there
Yeah.
training in the middle of nowhere. It just seems like we're, riding or just
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And what's weird is like people will talk about like during the race, but even during the race, we're not usually riding even around anybody, even though the race
Yeah.
is fairly close. Unless you're
You
in
don't see other teams too often.
yeah, maybe the first day, and if we started kind of towards the
Yeah,
back
you
and we
kinda
kind of
start
passed some
stacking up.
teams, yeah,
Like
or you
2000,
start stacking up
2000
teams.
2019, when we won the second one in a row, we started dead last, and we passed. We had like a terrific first day. We had the fastest time on the first day.
Yeah, we were the fastest team in McGrath.
So we left McGrath first place on the second day
Yeah.
because they adjust all your times. So we leave in 2-minute intervals, and they adjust your times after the first day. So after the first day, you leave on real time. So if you're time-wise 10 minutes ahead of second, you're leaving 10 minutes ahead of second
Got it.
to start the second day.
Yeah, I think there was only 2 teams. I think
We made the weather was terrible that year.
Yeah.
We just had a really good day.
Yeah. Would you say most of the major brands are represented in the race as far as snow machines go?
Yamaha, there's no Yamaha teams, and last year there was no Arctic Cat. There is an Arctic Cat team this year, so
Arctic, yeah, basically Polaris and Skidoo, which is kind of sad to see. Arctic Cat is, I don't know really what's going on exactly.
Yeah, they must have been a huge impact on it years ago.
they have a great track record in the race.
Arctic Cat is a great.
She's laying down over there now. It's pretty cute.
Well, I brought that up because the only machine I've ever rode is a Yamaha VMAX.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, the old
The
VMAX.
old VMAX.
So the Yamahas have kind of, most of their sleds are 4-strokes now, and they're just too heavy, and they don't run the bumps as well, and so they're just not competitive with what we're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of guys have tried them, and then they eventually kind of move on. But
And Arctic Cat is having their own company-wide struggles.
Yeah, and they're kind of partnered
They're
with Yamaha in a way, aren't they? Kind of?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so about 5 years ago, Textron, which is a huge company, bought them out, and I don't know exactly what's happened, but
I don't think there's even an Arctic Cat store. They got rid of that
They
one in
sold-
Mountain View, didn't they?
They sold the mining and diving.
Yep,
Yeah.
they've dropped a lot of dealerships throughout the country.
Yeah.
But there is still some
Yeah.
dealers. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They claim they're trying to get, regain traction and get their, who knows what's going on. I mean,
But top dogs, Skidoo, Polaris.
Skidoo and Polaris
This
right
in
now.
this age, yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's sad to see a manufacturer drop out because you need the competition and you need that.
We want
Yeah,
the
you do.
competition so that our sleds become better.
Well, and
Yeah.
it pushes everybody.
Nobody
pushes Polaris and
nobody
yeah.
wants to just see two
Yeah.
brands
full
going at it.
domination.
It
Yeah.
was, we went down to Heydays a couple of years ago, and that they were. I mean, even the players, the main guys at Polaris were saying that they don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Arctic didn't release a race
part
sled
of
that year.
It's a part of the sport, I mean, they want to see it growing, not go the other way.
Yeah, and as an Alaskan, lifelong Alaskan,
I mean, if you
go ahead, yeah.
Well, if you look back to the '90s, I mean, it was Polaris and Arctic Cat duking it out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
And now
thinking
Arctic Cat's
like
gone. It's
the purple with the checkered flag
Yes.
jackets and
Yeah.
Arctic. You know what I mean? Like no,
was-
seriously. As a
Arctic Cat is
lifelong Alaskan, the linchpin of like snowmobiling
Yeah.
was like dudes cruising around with
Arctic Cat-
Arctic Cat purple jackets
Oh,
and
it's-
neon
Arctic
green.
Cat's a
and-
racing brand. I mean, that's
come
where
on.
they were.
Yeah.
Diehards. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys that they were just diehard Arctic Cat guys.
Yeah.
I've always been a Polaris guy, but the Arctic Cat guys were real serious about being
Absolutely.
Arctic Cat. It was Arctic Cat or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even like in those days, their suspension systems were like above, like they're the first ones that were like independent A-arms, and
Yep. They sold IFS to Polaris.
yeah, like back in the day, we had trailing arms and shocks, and they had like independent.
Actual A-arm.
It
Yeah,
all
I was like-
started out from two brothers running Polaris, and then the one guy, I don't know what happened, they got pissed off at each other, and the one guy branched off and started Arctic Cat.
Yeah.
Is that how that went?
Edgar and Alan Hattin.
Wow.
Wow, look at the history there.
Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, they're just down the street from each other. The plants. I mean, they're not
I'll
too
be
far away.
damned. Yeah.
I got into snow machining from my grandpa. He owned my great grandpa started the oldest Polaris dealer in Alaska, called Morgan and Son at the time, up in Nome in the '60s.
Wow.
And that's how I got into it. My great grandpa had it. Obviously my grandpa continued it, and I'd go into the shop as a little kid and just drool over all the machines.
Oh
and,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's how I got the itch for it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and you're from Nome, right, Mike?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, because you just kind of got around on snowmobiles, right?
That was the way. I mean, you hop on a snow machine, you could ride right out your back door.
Yeah. Yeah. What got you started, Chris? Like, what's your background on the snowmobile?
Yeah, so
game?
I wasn't like Mike. I was the exact opposite. I didn't really grow up on sleds.
City boy?
Yeah, kind of. I did have some really old sleds that we did tool around on a little bit, but not enough to where I was excited to ride anything. We had it was actually
Tinkering on every weekend or anything?
we had it was called a Bolin's Diablo Rouge. It had like two tracks in the front, and you actually sat on a sled behind it. So it wasn't a tradition. Yeah, it wasn't a traditional sled by any means. So we when we were younger, we had one of those, and so that's what we kind of moved around on in snow. But we didn't have normal
up here in
snow
Alaska.
machines. Up here in Alaska, we had one.
Okay.
Yep, we had it. Yep, and so I wasn't really introduced. I wasn't kind of a part of that when I was younger. I actually didn't even start really riding until I was about 25.
That's kind of when you got into the culture of snowmobiling.
Yeah,
okay.
and I got hooked. Like, I went from really not even knowing what they were to going 3-4 days a week, and just the
dedicated.
Yeah, what kind of got me sucked in was just the ability to go essentially anywhere. I mean,
You see a lot
short of a plane. As far as ground transportation goes, I've been riding dirt bikes and different stuff but you're kind of you're limited. I mean, whether it's water bodies or swamps or
creeks or something,
or
you
even
see
brush.
you see a lot of snowboarders and skiers getting hooked on snow machines.
Yeah,
now.
and I was a snowboarder. I was I was really
'cause it
into
can get you to
snowboarding.
some epic shit, right?
Having a motor under you and being able, or incorporating it, like being able to use the snow machine to get where you want to go.
And in a perfect, what Mike said, I was a big time snowboarder. I started snowboarding really early back in the 80s, and I had season passes. We rode every single weekend. We rode, and it was,
and the way the snow machines are nowadays, you can pretty much get anywhere.
And what it was as soon as I started riding, it was like you get that perfect powder day snowboarding, and it was just the awesome feeling of doing that. Well, guess what? You could do that on the way down, and you could do it on the way up. So,
well, that's 100% correct, because that's what happened to me and all my friends.
Yeah.
I continued to snowboard, and then all my buddies and my brother, they just got snow machines, and that was it. Like they didn't want to go snowboarding anymore. They just wanted to go snow machine, and I would be like, well, let's go to Thompson's Pass, and you ride me up there, and I'll ride down. You know what I'm saying? You can ride me around.
So it was kind of just it got me hooked real quick, and like I said, it was the ability to go anywhere you wanted to was another big aspect of it. That now all of a sudden we were going like, hey, let's go to that mountain over there and just head out,
check it out.
Yeah, let's go check it out. So that kind of got me, and then I started racing. I mean, right away. I mean, it was basically 2 years into riding, and did my first I did my first snow cross on a non-snow cross sled and did really well. I think I finished second in the basically the opener pro class, and got me sucked in, and I really liked snow cross. That was really what I wanted to do was snow cross. And but I saw a lot of
that was like in the late 90s when snowcross was starting to get
huge. X Games and that whole
big
thing.
Yeah. So I think about 99 was the first year it was an X Games. So that was about that time. My first race was in 98, and then I was the first. Got on the race program in 99 and raced basically every race that was up here, cross country and snow cross back then. And, but I did see, prior to me racing, I read an article on Iron Dog, and it was this adventure. And I'd never thought about racing at that time. It was like I said, the second year I was kind of into riding, and I was like, that would be a really cool way to see Alaska is do this, and that was kind of my introduction to Iron Dog. And I was like, that'd be a cool adventure. That's what I thought. I didn't think about racing. And then I kind of got into racing. Now all of a sudden I was kind of, now I was thinking about, well, now I need to race this thing. And, I ended up hooking up with a guy named John Wingard, and it was funny because we kind of talked about doing it. We weren't really sure we were going to do it, and
idea of it.
We liked the idea of it, but it was going to cost a bunch of money. Well, we ended up getting a sponsorship, and it was $5,000. It was like it was like the biggest sponsorship I had gotten racing at the time, and it was like, this is now it forced us to do it. Well, unfortunately, that wasn't even that barely scratched the surface of what it was going to take.
That got you like an entry ticket?
Yeah, basically got us our entry fee.
You're still looking through the window.
Took about 10 years. Took about 10 years to pay off that race. So it was expensive lesson, but no, it was fun.
Well, leading into that, what would you say if there's a young teenager now that wants to get into that, and maybe they've been riding their dad's machine or whatever, and they're looking up to you guys as role models, and maybe one day they want to come compete? What are some steps that they should take in order to maybe eventually get into the Iron Dog?
I think racing,
follow your dreams no matter what.
Exactly. I mean, for sure. We kind of talked about these big budgets that we have. You can do it and be somewhat competitive.
You can you can do the race. You could set them, for instance, when I did my first Iron Dog, I didn't, you had all these, I was barely sponsored by Polaris at the time. I kind of got their B sponsorship or B team sponsorship, and I just kept it simple. I was like, you know what? I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do my thing, and that's it. I don't need to do the same thing that these other guys are doing. I don't need to waste, I'm not going to pay attention to that. I'm going to do some testing. I'm going to keep it simple, and
that's it.
We did good. We got 5th my rookie year, and I worked really, really hard, and we got sponsored by Polaris the next year, and then next thing, me and Chris start racing together, and one thing leads to another, and now we're,
the foundation.
Work hard and keep it simple.
Yeah, it is. That's a big thing. I mean, we see this time and time again. If someone actually looked over our sleds,
I tell these teams all the time.
Yeah,
I say keep it simple. Don't try and do what we're doing. Keep it simple.
Work up to this.
So if someone's
don't waste all this money on what we're doing.
Yeah.
Keep it simple and because that's not going to make you win or give you a third. You know,
right?
And we will like anybody that's riding a Polaris. We'll help anybody set their sleds up as far as maybe not give them our valving, our suspension valving. But as far as durability and making the race,
we'll tell them what they need
to do to
give them like a foundation to build off of, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We will tell them what has to get
outside of
done.
our specific setup. We'll give them everything.
We'll give them everything that they need to. That we are confident that their machine will cross the line. We'll tell them these are the things you have to do. These are the things that we do. What we call insurance that isn't necessary, but.
If you have some extra money.
If you have extra money or time or ability, do these other things that are kind of more of an insurance policy.
But you don't have to.
You don't have to do it. So, like I said, you can get into it much cheaper than what we're kind of talking about. You can, but really it's working your way up to it. I mean, I think, Mike had to do it. I had to do it, kind of prove yourself a little bit in the sense of.
You have to work hard. Everybody wants to get skinny pill and the fucking vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
Give me the vaccine.
The quick result, right?
Yeah, the quick result.
The easy insurance. And it's like you got to work hard. I mean, especially Iron Dog's going to show its face. If you don't work hard, you're not going to get where you want to go.
So my first win came in 2010. So essentially 10 years after I started doing the, I basically had probably about as much sponsorship in 2010 as I did the first year I raced, which was basically nothing. I had some pretty good finishes, but it wasn't enough between trying to change teammates and stuff like that. Basically, all my sponsorship had gone down to nothing. So I did it. I did that race as cheap as you could do it. I mean, I
also
bare
starting
bones.
over in a way.
I did. In 2010s, I did. I completely started over. Nothing fancy at all. I did everything.
They ran an older sled than us, and they got first place.
And so we kept
you were racing against each other at that time. Yeah,
we were. Yeah, so
I got a full sponsorship from Polaris, and he, like he said, he started over. He raced the older sled. They ended up beating everybody with the older sled.
Yeah. And it was just going back to that, keeping it simple. Trying to do it as cheap as possible, and that's what we did. And we didn't have anything fancy, and we were able to win the race. So, people always say that, like I said, that's one of the things that I get kind of annoyed on is when they say that, the guys that are winning because we get all the support.
And the airplanes.
It took a point to get there. I mean, we were in their shoes at one point.
I mean, in 2010, I had essentially no support. I mean, and I was able to win without any of those things. So
all these up and comers are like, well, how'd you get that? How'd you get to that level, or how'd you get that sponsor? And it's like, bud, you got to work up to it. You have to work hard to get there.
You don't make a phone call.
It didn't happen overnight. We've done, I've done 12 Iron Dogs, and it's taken all this time to build these relationships and to.
A big checkbook just doesn't get it done.
No,
right?
I mean, and I tell them, I said, don't, we're doing this, but you don't need to do that. Keep it simple. And do what you need to do to finish the race. There's no
to prove that
you're just
you can
wasting
finish. First, you got to prove you can do the race and finish it. I mean,
it's a win in itself just to start and finish.
I can tell you, if you're doing all this stuff that we're doing, you're blowing $50,000 for nothing. I mean, keep it simple and save all that.
Yeah, and you could still have a competitive sled that could potentially win the race.
Exactly.
I mean,
I kind of equivalent it to like. We get a lot of questions on first time fly fishing or first time hunting, and like you don't have to have the full QU set and the baddest fucking mountain hunter thing. Like you can be out there and
the best 4-wheeler.
You don't have to have all that stuff, man. You just have to get after it. You know what I'm saying? Get after it, and learn, and then eventually you're gonna get there. No one sees the climb. You just see the guy at the top. Like there's a whole climb there. You know?
There is.
Effort and talent trumps all that. I mean, effort and.
I mean, I wouldn't even say talent. I would say effort trumps everything. I mean, I consider there's some guys that I personally feel that I'm not the most naturally talented guy out there. There's guys that are way more talented than I am on a sled, but
our sleds are better built. And
we put our time in. And we put our time into riding, putting the effort into it, being physically ready, and our machines being ready more than us. Me being more than me being
mental.
Yeah.
And knowing what it's going to take.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what, so I mean, I think anybody.
We know when to push. We know when not to. We know what our team is capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was kind of gathering from listening to all this was the young, small community kid, passionate, love snow machines, part of your community, part of your culture.
Yeah.
Dude that got a late blossom, maybe. Talent, obviously, there's guys that learn how to ride when they're 12.
Yeah.
My first time riding snow machines, I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
I rode snow machines with my dad all the way up, and I'm to this day I'm not even close to as talented. I'm not even a talented snow machiner. I can just kind of get on there and ride. I don't even talented. It shouldn't even be part of the conversation when it comes to snow machining and me. But what I'm saying is that you got small town guy, passionate, loves snow machine, late blossomer, effort, work, grind, and then you guys kind of put it all together.
Yeah.
To this like perfect balance of combination of, one of you is probably the better mechanic. One of you is probably the better navigational guy. There's probably these things that you guys feed off of each other and bounce back and forth that creates this like perfect balance of the ultimate team. Because one guy can't be like the better at this or that. The other,
the big thing is like general chemistry. I mean, we get along.
That's
like,
I think what I was trying to say.
Really
the chemistry came together. Yeah.
Yeah, we know each other like we're brothers, and we race like we're brothers. I mean, we get mad
we argue
at each
all
other
the time.
sometimes.
But it's not. We don't get in fights to where we're really pissed off at each other.
Yeah, there's not like resentment.
No.
Yeah, there's
just no weird
natural
energy. It's always just.
It's funny because we get into these checkpoints and we're yelling at each other, and people are like, "Hey, they were yelling at us." We're like, "We're not yelling. We're communicating." It's like, there is a difference. We're communicating over here. They're like, "Yeah, Mike and Chris came in here all pissed off at each other, yelling at each other." And we're like, "That's just us. That's us communicating. That's just But I mean, that's
a ring on it already.
Well, it really is. I mean, I will tell any of these guys that are trying to get into Iron Dog. I mean, realistically, a teammate is probably the biggest. I mean, that is the biggest thing getting into this race because it's a team. It's a team race. It's not an individual race.
That's
it's a team race, and you
I'm
have
glad
to.
you highlighted that, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, you
Out
have
to the left.
Yeah, so you have to have that, like we talked about, the chemistry, the ability to get along. You have to kind of mesh together. You have to have the same goals. I mean, if you guys have different goals, it's not going to work out. I mean,
a general outcome in mind.
Yeah,
the finish is the same.
The guys that are starting out, I mean, it's also realistic expectations. I mean, again, going back to this rookie workshop and telling these guys, it's like, if you're going out there to win your first time, I think you're going to
ask that.
Yeah, I think you're and I'm not saying that it can't happen.
Yeah.
It has happened one time. Other than, I mean, the only rookie, there's only been one rookie that's ever won the race other than the first race. So, I mean, it's not common that these guys the first time around are going to win the race. So if your expectation is to, I think at the same time is setting realistic goals, and we kind of talked about that. I mean, finishing this race it's a win.
Yeah.
Obviously I think you could do a lot better if you, also another thing too is I feel that if you're going to do this race, to go out there to try and win, like in 2006, I was asked, 12 days before the race, I wasn't even planning on racing that year. I got asked 12 days before the race. I had 50 miles on. I wasn't physically in shape. I wasn't, didn't have, they were newer machines that I hadn't been practicing on or using or had a good setup. And Matt Spurnack, and he asked me if I wanted to do it. And I just told him, I says, well, if your goal is to see the course and have a good ride, I'm in. If you're planning on winning the race, I want nothing to do with it. I'm not ready. The machines won't be ready. Yeah. We're not going to be ready to win the race. So, if you're out there to try and learn the race and just try and finish it, I'm down. And that's what we did. We ended up getting fifth. And I told them from the very get-go, I said, you're going to be very surprised that you don't have to go out there and record, go out there and go blazing.
Record pace, trying to win this thing.
Trying to win it. What you need to do is be consistent, keep moving, not have a lot of problems, and just go ride. And if you do that, you're going to do well. Yeah. So I think a lot of people kind of just get in their head that they've got to go out there and race. We tell people all the time, it's like, when Mike and I go out there and we're racing at the Iron Dog, I mean, I'm not going to say that our pace is going much faster or slower than what we're practicing, but we're essentially doing the same thing that we do every weekend that we're out there riding. Because, if you're going beyond your comfort zone, that means there's a potential for a mistake, and that's what's going to cost you. Mm-hmm. So
injury, broken sled,
exactly.
Like
so you want to ride in your comfort zone, and so these guys that go out there and then all of a sudden they
get caught up in someone else's race too.
Yeah, and that's another big thing is
someone passes them and they're like, oh, we got to keep up.
They get in their head they're out of their
comfort zone.
Yeah, they're off their whole plan is
out
now
of their comfort zone, and they're just riding someone else's pace.
It's a huge mistake. I mean, that's a huge mistake. Is getting even for us. I mean, we essentially don't get into battles.
We know what pace it takes to win. So if somebody passes us, we know they're either going too crazy or something.
Yeah.
So the mindset is more like, let's ride out here like we're alone.
Yep, that's exactly right.
We're competing with this guy or that guy's riding on our tail.
I mean, we're going to race other guys to the gas point sometimes, but we're
sure. I mean, the natural competitive nature of it is you're gonna like.
We're riding.
He's pinning it. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking
I tell people that all the time. It's like if someone passes you, that doesn't mean all of a sudden you need to go their pace. What you need to do is you need to do your pace.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to worry about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like running the highway. You're cruising at 68, and this guy goes 75. You don't have to like hit the gas to stay behind that guy.
Yeah. So the top, I would say 3, 4, 5 teams are all kind of running the same pace. So if we get in a race to a checkpoint, we are going to race them to the gas pump to get there before them because so we're not waiting for fuel.
Oh,
but that's
gotcha.
Sometimes there's only one gas pump.
That's working against your clock, right?
Yeah. Sometimes there's only one gas pump. So if there's a team coming, we will fight them for the gas pump.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, you'd be really surprised.
It's a strategic move at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be really surprised. I mean, like I was telling you that first year I did it with Matt, that was one thing that he thought was pretty funny is, we would get going and there's these guys that would just go blowing by us. And then, literally miles up the trail, they're stuck off to the side because they blew a corner, and they're over there sweating, trying to get out of the thing, and we're just kind of just cruising along,
right?
And then they would come blowing by us again, and then they're off the trail again, and then next thing you know, we get to the burn, and here they blew into the trees and ripped off their whole front end, and so it was like, where did that get them? They were fast, but it didn't get them very.
It's like the guy that's passing all the way to Girdwood, and then you meet him at Girdwood gas station.
Basically the same.
Meet him at the first stop.
Or he's in the shoulder in the guardrail.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of that the tortoise and the hare. But you can't be the tortoise and you can't be the hare. You got to be.
Somewhere in between.
You got to find that good compromise of the in between. So
yeah.
Do you guys find or see that there's new young up and comers like coming in, and you're like, man, we got to watch out for these guys?
It's not so much that you got to look out for them. You actually you
embrace it, right?
Yeah, you do. For me especially, I'm kind of like I said, I'm up there in age, and I'm getting.
Yeah, you're like a tenured veteran.
Yes,
I mean you are too, Mike.
There's
but
some
I mean,
young
you're
kids.
20 years in the game. You've kind of like seen a lot of it.
I mean,
there's some young kids coming up.
Yeah. The thing that I don't like
seeing. I love you guys. I would think they're not like, I'm going to go after these old assholes.
We help a lot of them, and that's what I want to see. I want to see them be successful because the thing that I don't like seeing is you see some of these guys that come out and. Maybe they didn't put the full effort in, and they have they have a kind of a bad experience, and then they don't come back, and that's what I don't want to see. I want to see them have a positive.
That doesn't
experience.
create longevity for the sport.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
I want to see these guys coming up, and especially like the village kids. I want to see them come out.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to help
there
them out.
You go.
I mean,
them kids from rural Alaska are such diehards. I mean, you get a bunch of them in there, and
it would be their like lifelong goal to just even be there.
And just think if they figured it out and got they got the sponsors. I mean, they have potential to do really well.
I mean, they grew up on sleds. Most of them have grown up on sleds, and
hands down. Yeah.
I want to see them. I think there's, like I said, I the thing that I don't like, and I get real negative. That's one thing I kind of get negative about is, you get that a lot from some of these guys that, these guys are just, it's unfair. Like you can't be competitive. And
it's a rich man sport.
It's a rich man sports. And I just think that's, I think that's
BS.
It is BS. I think that anybody can get into it, and I think that
especially
if
the
you
Iron
have
Dog with so many
just the
variables.
way you guys did.
Yep.
Just the way you guys did.
Exactly.
I mean, there's
You
nobody
could
that
be
was
a-
like, "Here's 20 grand, go get them, boys."
And there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of kids in the villages. Like I said, they grew up on them, and they're fast and they're good, and
They
We
know how to
race
work
against
on 'em and-
we
They
race
know how to
against
work
all
on 'em.
these kids in these sprint races, like the annual Kotzebue race and the Nome Gullivan race. We race against all these kids,
and they're good and they're fast.
and I'm
I mean,
always trying to get them to get into the Iron Dog. Like just crack that egg and get into it, and the rest will take care of itself. Your whole community is going to support you. You're
Yeah.
going to get
Absolutely.
sponsors from your community.
That's true.
That's what
Does
I
it
would like
cost
to
to
see.
get in the Iron Dog? Is there like a fee?
Yeah. So the entry fee. I think this year it was $3,800. I think for a team
Per
so-
person.
Oh, I mean, sorry. Yeah, sorry. 38 per person. So it's a pretty steep.
7,600 per team.
Yeah.
Which is a little steep, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really, you want it, and you go out there, and I mean, I don't know if it's like, the old school doing car washes and selling cookies and shit.
sure.
But I mean, like, if you really want to
Yeah.
figure out a way to get that entry fee, there's creative ways to do it and
Yeah.
get
Like
going.
I said,
and-
you can look at how I did it. I mean, that's, I don't necessarily have never had a bunch of extra money laying around, but I wanted it and worked hard enough to get my foot in the door. And
Yep.
once you start getting that foot in the door, it does.
you have a passion. That's all it takes. I mean, the
There it
rest
is.
will take care of
A
itself.
vision and a passion and a
Yeah.
love and
you can't give up. I mean, there's
a
going to
will, right? It's like you got to almost will your way.
You do.
Me and Chris
it.
did so many Iron Dogs, and I was like, man, I'm not giving up until we win this dang thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was almost like you just need to keep feeding the fire. Right?
Yeah.
Like it was
Yep.
just like, man, until I feel that feeling.
You learn something new every year. You're like, okay, what could we have done better? I'm always pointing the finger back at myself. Okay, what could I have done better?
Taking
What-
responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Accountability.
Don't make excuses and just point the finger back at yourself and
Yeah.
make improvements.
Only you can control if you're going to win or lose or finish or
Yep.
Yeah.
even be part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, I mean, you can kind of get a feeling from these guys that are coming up, the guys that don't give up, because those are the guys that you really want to see come back. Even though they might not have finished because they had problems, but they made a heck of an effort trying to keep going until the end, until it just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Those are the guys you want to see. And because those are the guys that if they can come back, they're going to be successful because you've seen them out there struggling and they're still doing it.
Yeah.
And so those guys are gonna, if they can start putting things together, they're gonna be they're gonna be tough.
Yeah. Is there? You guys mentioned the rookie. What do you guys call it? The rookie workshop.
Yeah.
Iron Dog Rookie Workshop. They do it every year. And
How does a
Chris
up
has
and comer get into that? Like, where does that start?
So all the rookies are required to attend that, and Chris has been doing it
It's like
forever.
an orientation type
Yeah.
thing.
Pretty much.
So I've been
Okay.
doing it since 07. I think that first year that Matt and I raced in 06, up until then, the rookie workshop I thought was like my first rookie workshop that I went to. I felt that it was multiple racers that were teaching. They kind of like split it up into different, there was like a navigation, and then there was like say clothing, and then there was machine setup, and so it's like say 4 or 5 guys, and I kind of felt that probably 3 of the guys, I felt like I got a lot of misinformation. Like they were more threatened by you, so they're giving you some information, but it was horrible information. It wasn't
misleading.
It
Telling
was
you to pack stuff you don't really need.
yeah, the stuff. Yeah, stuff that was not
It's like counterproductive to the overall.
for sure. And
You
Matt and I started teaching it, and I've basically continued it. Other than when Mike sunk a sled in the river, and we stayed out on the river the night before the rookie workshop. I've done it every year since 07. So, I definitely, like I said, I want the only way that the Iron Dog's going to grow is to get these guys to finish. I mean, if they're not finishing and they're having a horrible time, they're not going to come back. These people aren't coming back.
There's no fun in that.
Yeah, there's no fun. So you want to try and give them the tools. And like I said, you can kind of get an idea even at the rookie workshop. The guys that are kind of asking some questions. Some guys, I'm kind of the guy, I don't like asking a bunch of questions, but you can kind of tell the ones that kind of will come and maybe ask a little question here, and they'll kind of keep keep picking a little bit. You know,
they'll ask you more on like social media. They'll just message you, and
they might not want to speak up, and they might not want to speak up.
Shy
exactly.
Yeah.
But you can kind of get an idea of these guys that'll kind of take it a little more serious,
taking notes and stuff.
Some of the guys you can kind of tell too. There's kind of like they're too good for it, or like
I already know that.
Yeah. We've seen that.
Like we'll see you over there stuck in the corner on that turn over there, bud.
Usually the way they end up is kind of what you think. You know.
So you guys, it sounds like you're very open to helping others, and if anyone has a question. And nowadays, I mean, social media is it's right there. So anyone that listens to this when it comes out, you can go to @Polaris Mike or @Chris Olds, and just shoot the question.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Don't
think
worry
you found
about
your
us.
new love over here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Our Facebook, you know, either on Facebook or our team page, we're happy to help. Like I said, it doesn't even matter what brand you're riding. Obviously, we're going to have a hard time telling them what, you know, if they're riding a different brand, how to set it up.
Yeah.
But as far as the actual race goes and what they need to be prepared for.
There's plenty of information they can take from you. I mean, the sled and the equipment is like some super technical stuff, but that like passion, heart, love, building up to it, all the other stuff that is the foundation of Iron Dog and racing snow machines.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like they can get from you guys all day long.
Yeah, for sure.
What about the ladies? We got women trying to do this thing.
There's been
one women's team to finish, right?
There's been one that's finished?
Yeah, an all-female team that's finished. Now, there has been some females that have raced with co-ed teams that have finished before. But as of today, there's only been one all-female team that's finished.
Ladies, come on.
I know.
Let's go.
There needs to be.
Is there a division of ladies?
There is not, but
the Achilles heel to women is the mechanics part of it. So when they
I don't know that would be it. I mean, I think there could be some girls that are good. It's just that you see, that they need to.
They got to want it.
Yeah, they do.
Obviously.
They do. And I think that, I would really
But
like
when
to
they
see
run into
some
problems
women.
with the machines, they kind of have a hard time diagnosing what's wrong with it and what's going on.
And I think to kind of clarify your statement, and I'm not trying to be PC, I'm just trying to be real. He's not saying because they're women, they can't be mechanics. I think he's just saying out of sheer experience, you probably got a gal who maybe grew up with her dad or brothers or somebody who rode.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And then so she knows the in and out of mechanics of snowmobiles versus, hey, I want to get into this. I can ride. I'm good. But then maybe hasn't turned wrenches on end and broken off sleds and things like that. Like, I'm trying to say that the right way.
No, you're right. You're right.
I mean, like, I think
there's some really good.
Not that they're not skilled or able to do it, right? It's just
a desire.
Yeah,
maybe?
like, is there really the sheer
drive.
number of them even interested enough to do it?
I think that has a big part of it. There's just, obviously we just don't see that many that are signing up there. There's a girl that's signing up this year, and then some in the trail class team also in the trail.
Yeah, there's a gal from Minnesota signed up with another guy from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
another guy from down there.
Yeah. But it would be great to see. I think that, the way that I'd like to see the sport go, we've seen it with the rookies, having a lot of prizes for the rookies, because that's a big thing to get them to come back. The guys that are doing good.
Some incentive
to come back instead of just giving it to the guys that are, the guys that kind of top guys kind of get the prizes and stuff. So try and divvy that out to the rookies. I think Iron Dog needs to have a big purse for the first female team to come across the finish line.
Well, it seems to me like you guys truly want the sport to grow.
For sure.
Longevity.
Yeah.
And whatever it takes to be helpful. It's not something that you're like, this is ours, we want to win.
Dominate.
But I truly feel like authentically you guys want it to grow as big as possible. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome to have 60 teams?
It would.
My opinion is for it to grow to that next level is they need to build a production that can sell. Build a production with all the shop work, the whole story, the shop work, the stories, the backstories, the race.
A 30 for 30.
Take whatever money it takes and send some Super Cubs out there with some guys in there filming with some drones and, land on the Yukon River and get some shots of us going by at 100 mile an hour. There's never been any of that.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
so
or-
spend
or-
the money to build that badass production to portray the race to everybody, because
follow a team. and
otherwise
the trials
nobody
and
knows what it
tribulations
is. You
and-
can
yeah.
you can talk about it all you want until you see it. It's you
Yeah.
know it's
Yeah.
people have
You
a
don't
hard
really
Well,
time.
it's
grasp
just
it.
as exciting as, like anyone that's the huge production on bass fishing and
Yeah.
all these other things that are going on.
It's got
you know?
huge
Oh, yeah.
potential.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Right.
we
if you
have
can
fans.
if you can film a National Geographic show about penguins, you can film a show about iron
Oh,
dog
100%.
racing.
I mean, we
I mean-
we have fans, that are in the lower 48 where it doesn't even snow. They've never even been on a snow machine, and
Yeah.
they are diehard followers of this race. I mean, they
Yep.
they
They're
talk about
fascinated by
how
it.
they talk about how they just can't wait until that week. So I mean, it's out there, but the reality is that we just don't have that broad base of
Yep.
that someone needs to.
I guess
tell
we got to
people
get started. We'll,
Yeah,
cover,
well, this
we'll,
is-
we'll cover
this
the
is a
start.
big
This
part
is
of
the
it.
Fly up
start.
to
This is
Nome
the
and meet
start.
you guys
Well, like
there.
I was telling you earlier, like we have so many fans in Spain and Belgium and all these places that are just infatuated with everything that's happening in Alaska.
Yep.
And this is, I mean, maybe we catch the ear of a filmmaker or somebody
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
wants to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. I mean, that's just a big part of it, and
The
of course,
potential is there. I mean, it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've kind of we saw it. I mean, one of the directors really ramped things up as far as making it a production without really limiting the race, which was really cool. They didn't try and sacrifice the race to make it more into a production. He kind of incorporate the production into the
Yeah.
race.
that's
There
when
you go.
we were starting in downtown Anchorage and everything.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, that's
yeah,
a great
yeah,
idea.
it was. It cost a lot of money, so they decided not to do it. But at the same time, that exposure, sometimes you gotta look at those trade offs and
Yeah.
Absolutely. Long run, it might really pay off.
yeah.
To
Well, you
to
might get
that
some
exposure.
some young kid from the village, boy or girl who's into filming and GoPros, and it just takes a couple GoPros in your
Yeah.
machine and follow these guys, and you
Yeah.
got these checkpoints ahead of time, and
Yeah.
make a little video.
That's one of the cool things now. I mean, obviously with social media, most of these people in the village and any of the checkpoints, there's a lot of video of
They're
guys
doing
coming in
live.
and out.
Live feeds.
Yeah, a lot of live feeds, but it would be great if somebody could put the effort into actually making a production out of it.
Yeah.
Follow it from start to finish
Yeah.
and that whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah. That'd be pretty sweet.
And if they took some of the prize money to do that, we'd be all for it,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Well, and ultimately, to Daniel's point, and I think we can honestly say that there's a message to take from this podcast to anybody that's listening that there's growth opportunity for the sport. There's longevity for the sport. Look, it's going to get cold and snow and going to be winter in Alaska
Yep.
for the foreseeable future for a long time. And there's no reason why with our technology, social media platforms, production companies, and funding
Yep.
and sponsorship that we can't see this thing blow up or just slowly
snowmobile-
grow
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
something.
Snowmobiles in general are just getting more and more capable.
man.
So
Oh, they're
pretty
incredible.
soon everybody should have one.
I mean, shit, my buddy's got the new snow checked like turbo Polaris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think it's
I
like
want one of
20. It's
those.
like 20 fucking grand. I'm like, whoa. Like
one.
my first like brand new mountain sled was a Mountain Max 700 for $7,000.
Yeah.
Bought it from Anchorage
I
Yamaha.
still got the
man.
Yamaha VMAX.
And I'm like, they're 20 grand now. Like,
For a turbo, yeah.
Whoa.
it's-
You could get one for less than that, but
no, I know. I mean, that's the leaps and bounds
They have.
that the technology and equipment, horsepower, power to the track, the clutch. I mean, all the engineering that has gone into the development of these machines that are allowing you to go to places
Yeah.
where, before 20, 30 years ago, a human could never access without an
yeah,
airplane.
Yeah.
It's incredible, man.
I'll try to do a little plug here. I'm actually the president of Alaska Safe Riders, and
what?
yeah, Alaska Safe Riders.
Elaborate on
check
that.
it out. Yeah.
What is that?
So it's I kind of got I wouldn't say voluntold or kind of roped into it a little bit. I was gonna
Kinda the
volunteer
perfect guy
some
for
time,
it, yeah.
kind of volunteer some time on it.
What's that
And,
called again? Alaska.
Alaska Safe Riders.
Okay.
And so we're trying to get out, and it's just like the rookie workshop. It's basically kind of trying to get people thinking about safety, and we do ATV, UTV, snow machine safety. From avalanche to actual backcountry safety, things that you should be bringing, getting your machine ready. we're going to be offering free classes throughout the state.
Is there a website or something?
Yeah, Alaska Safe Riders. Yep.
Okay.
Alaska Safe Riders. Any youth programs in there?
So we're gonna obviously our goal is to try and help with getting helmets out to kids, getting we're going to be offering.
Absolutely.
We're going to be, like I said, we're kind of in an infancy. We're just we're just starting out, but it's definitely
we're behind it, bro.
A great program, and maybe one of these
Big
times
time.
we can come
Big
on
time.
and kind of discuss some of that stuff. But that's a big part of it. Is just the safety aspect of it, and getting, like I said,
That's
keeping
number one.
people, getting people into it,
Safety.
and making sure that they're going to go out there and do things safe, just like the Iron Dog. I mean, you can't, like I said, if you're having problems, and if you have a problem, it could be life or death.
No doubt about it. No doubt about
Alaska
it.
doesn't care.
No.
The weather doesn't care.
No, and Mother Nature could give a shit less about you, your sled, or anything that you got going on, for sure.
Right.
That's cool on the
I dig
helmet
it.
thing, because I'll be honest, my kids been just rocking their hockey helmets.
Yeah.
When we're going on the 4-wheelers and stuff like that. And I wanted to bring up that also. I saw that you're into dirt biking.
I am. Yeah, I'm big in the dirt bike. I've kind of always been into it, and I kind of just more recently kind of really got back into it, and my kids into it, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's again a good way to get out and.
What's the potential future of a expedition endurance long dirt bike race type thing?
I could see. I mean, they've actually had some hare scrambles up here, and it was crazy.
Hare scrambles?
Yeah, hare scramble. It's basically a timed event where you basically maybe do laps.
They're big down south.
They
in
are.
like
They're really
Colorado
big down
and
south.
Idaho.
Guys that maybe aren't necessarily motocrossers, but are decent on a bike, and it's really more about endurance and
Technical riding.
Yeah, technical riding, and so the trails are can be technical, and it's basically you count how many laps you do, and it's like 3 hours plus your finish lap or whatever, so a little over 3 hours, and those
Red Bull puts on some big events.
they put some.
I bet
they
they
put,
do.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
That's who we need to come and do a video, man.
Romaniacs.
Red Bull has the
come
backing
on, Red
for
Bull.
that.
Step
Red Bull
it up,
needs to
man.
get
We need a
into Iron
documentary
Dog.
out here, Red Bull.
Exactly. Well, they do that.
What's the hesitation on that, guys? Why haven't they gotten into that? I mean, they're in the NASCAR, they're into all the other stuff.
If we could build that production to sell to them, I bet they'd be on board with it, because it has that badassness to it.
all day long.
I will say the only
extreme
thing.
of the extreme. Yeah.
The only thing that I do see about somebody like that taking over, sometimes the production takes over the
Corporatizing
the
things. And,
okay.
So
I kind of worry about that a little bit, but obviously I
Thanks
think
for your
there's-
honesty on that, man.
But I do think that there could be a balance of where you're making everybody happy. I mean, I think we've seen it in the race, things that kind of happen that maybe the racers aren't real excited about. But I mean, really at the end of the day, if we could get more,
But they have the
money.
They have the capital to be able to go out there with drones and GoPros,
planes.
whatever
no
it
doubt,
takes to portray
on the production level, they have it all.
I mean, the only footage they really have of this race is us coming in and out of checkpoints,
That's
getting
insane.
fuel.
Yeah, airplane
That is-
videos and stuff. I mean,
that's
it's all
crazy.
pretty good.
They want
but
to see us going through the bumps and battling with other teams and doing 100 mile an hour on the Yukon.
Oh, I'm thinking of like pulling over and having to do a last minute wrench on something, or pulling over and guys crying of joy because he made it to McGrath, or like that emotion and that real human dynamic and aspect to what the race is doing. That's the part that's not really getting captured maybe as much as a production could show.
The real emotion and the reality of it,
Yeah, the anguish and the despair and all the
and
stuff that you go through in that race, right?
And the pre-story, I mean, building the sleds in the garage.
Yes.
all the way from your
training.
Yeah, when that sled gets delivered and you're like, all right, man, then you bust out the wrench and start pulling the first bolt and going to town. It'd be really cool to see that.
You guys should come over to our garage sometime and do
Oh,
some.
man. We should do
We're on
that.
it, baby.
Yeah.
Just call us, man. We'll
Maybe
be there.
we'll just do the video.
Yeah, man, we just
we'll
have
sell it to
to
Red Bull.
Exactly,
right.
exactly.
We got the shit, man. We'll just start coming and following this
Already
thing.
got the start of it.
No, seriously though, we'll communicate with you guys on the start, and then we'd love to, if we have the capability, time and resource to go up to watch the finish and be part of that and cover it, and maybe see if we can't put together a podcast up there. Would be
that'd be
for
amazing.
us. It's a dream come true, because this is the point behind our project is to you know, to benefit Alaska and everything that is
Yeah. You could get like the
wild
top
about
3
all
or
this unique
5
stuff.
You could get like the top 3 or 5 teams into it and really build, create
Oh, sure.
something that.
Sure.
And then like a
And
rookie
you guys know
one.
everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you guys know them all. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be
Well, I mean,
awesome.
like you said, the thing is, it's completely unique. I mean, it's
Oh, very much
nothing,
so.
nothing like it.
Absolutely, man. You guys know anything about the wet dog race?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
I was kind of interested when the guy was trying to get that kicked off. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We got them coming in here in a
We
couple
do.
weeks.
Yeah.
We do.
we're gonna
Yeah.
talk to those
Yeah.
guys.
It was interesting. That the concept is the same in terms of like that expedition race, but obviously they both have their own separate levels of.
Yeah, that's insanity, dude. What
Yeah.
these guys
I mean,
are
you
doing.
guys are
what is that
fucking
race?
insane for what you're
The
doing.
wet dog
I mean,
race. You haven't heard of it? Basically, they're doing the things on
Jet
jet
skis.
skis.
Jet skis. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing
Like-
a 2,000-mile circuit race
Yeah.
on a jet ski.
Just imagine
And-
going from like Kodiak to the Aleutian Islands
Yeah,
on the
that's
thing,
pretty
dude. It's
wild.
insane.
Yeah.
They know pulling over and getting your
No,
sleeping bag
out
out.
in the open ocean. Yeah,
You have a breakdown, things can get real weird.
right.
Yeah, so we'll find out about those guys.
Oh shit! You guys probably get into some wet dog situations
Oh,
running over there by the
there has
water
been.
and the river,
We've
overflow
water skipped-
and all that.
We've water
Yeah.
2015. We probably water skipped 30 miles in the whole race.
Yeah.
Wow.
2006 was the same way. I mean, we were skipping the ocean. We were out on the ocean riding across the
Ice,
water.
snow,
Yep.
back to water.
Yeah,
well,
it
for
was
people that maybe don't
scary.
know, like when you're hitting those snow machines at a high speed, you can just skip across water.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and like we know that because we live here, but
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people that are listening that maybe aren't from here, like,
Yeah.
what? Like this machine can
they'll go
just go
fast.
across the water
The
by
snow
speed
machine-
alone.
They skip water pretty well.
Yeah, and they'll go fast. On
Get
the
those
water.
paddles ripping and the
Oh, yeah.
skis up. Yeah, you can
I
get
mean,
going.
me and Chris were having some issues in 2015, and we were just having fun at that point. We water skipped all the way across Gullivan Bay, which is about 15 miles.
Wow.
Wow, on and off ice patches and snow, or just water all the way.
In
There's a
2006,
lot of water.
yeah, in 2006 it was water almost the whole way.
You
It
guys
was
busted
it
out
was
the old
sketchy.
Mustang
I mean,
life
sketchy.
jackets and went for it, or what?
I could show you guys some pictures
Put the floaties
from that
on it?
year that was. I could show you some pictures from that year that just looked like summertime out there.
Don't get your belt wet, pretty
Yeah,
much.
don't get your belt wet. No.
And we were water skipping around corners, and we'd go across these lakes. It looked like summertime. We'd be going across these lakes, and you couldn't tell where the trail exited the lake, so we'd just launch our sleds up onto the bank on the other side and search for the exit.
Wow.
And then
Yeah. Wow.
go to the next
And
one.
have to jump back on the water sometimes
Yeah.
if you had to. and
Yep.
that's
It
crazy,
was
man.
gnarly. It looked like summertime.
You
out
guys
there.
just must be confident, man. I mean, as far as like when you're out there and in it, like it's
When
just
you're in the element, I don't know. It's kind of like we have to do it. Let's go.
yeah,
Start
we're out
skipping.
here, get
We
get
try.
after it.
I mean, we don't purposely go out, and try
No.
to skip
Right,
water
right.
if we don't have to. But
we're pretty confident with.
yeah,
I feel like you kind of have to, and you almost have to be like
We know what our machines
almost
will do.
borderline clinically a little crazy, like to like.
yeah, maybe.
We know what our machines
I mean, that's
will
what
do.
I'm getting from you guys. They're like, yeah, we just go out there, risk our lives, no big deal.
I want to bring up a name, and you guys just tell me if this dude's a legend or not. Scott Davis.
Oh, geez, man, he is the legend for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a
Scotty
seven-time Iron
Davis.
Dog champ. He's
He's been through all generations of the race and
Yeah.
riders
Oh, wow.
and everything. And
Yeah, he raced motocross. He was, I mean, he's just definitely. I mean, he's pretty much won every type of racing up here in Alaska, and when it comes to dirt bikes and snow machines.
he was competitive up to the last race he did, which
Yeah.
was, I think, 2015. He got second.
Yeah,
Wow,
Yeah.
is he just up in age now, elder?
he retired.
Retired,
He
yeah.
made it stick this time. I mean, he
He
called
goes
it-
in and out.
Yeah, he kind of went in and out of it. As a matter of fact, we were
Couldn't stay away.
the first time he announced his retirement, we were all high fiving because we're like, all right, we're moving up a position.
Yeah, man, we get the chance to win this thing.
Because I mean, he, even he has 7 wins, but I mean his top 3 records is just it's unbelievable.
up there
It's
all the
just-
time.
yeah, he was always he was up there every time, and so like I said, we were literally. I was racing with Matt. I remember the first time he said he wasn't racing. We're literally in the back high fiving, going like, "We're moving up a spot next year,"
What are some
Thank God.
maybe some other names or some other people that we should maybe say, hey, these guys are actually a big part of making this thing happen? Obviously, the communities and the people in the villages.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a big part of it is just this. I mean it's a volunteer organization, so when we go to a checkpoint and we're getting fuel and stuff, I mean these guys are up all night out there on their own time to help us out. So I mean, a big shout out to just everybody that helps. Like I said, they're volunteering their time to do this and just to help us do this race. So
yeah, it takes an army to put it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a director. Is there a specific team? 4 or 5, 6 people.
So Iron Dog has a couple actual employees of Iron Dog, but for the most part, it's like I said, it's really a volunteer based organization. All the board members.
There's a board. Okay.
Yeah, there's a board, and they've got a good board in there that's very active right now and trying to make some of these changes. And
They've got an executive director in front of them.
Yeah.
We've got a new executive director for this season.
What's his name? Her name?
Bob Minnie.
Yeah,
Bob Minnie.
And he's from down south, so he's got a lot of connections with, the kind of the hub of snowmobile racing is out of Minnesota, and he's got a lot of connections down there, and he's been in the industry a long time.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
So he should be good.
That's cool. And he's not an Alaskan, but he's still
he lives here now.
Yeah.
loves the sport and passionate about the growth of it. And
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
And for our favor, he's a proponent. He's a strong proponent of Polaris. So.
There you go. There you
Kind of was putting those two together there.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming out, man,
Yeah,
and,
man.
and,
Thanks
and
for
just
having
shining
us.
the light on this activity, this sport that happens every year in Alaska. And like we were talking before, like everyone's probably heard of Iron Dog, but the
Definitely.
nitty gritty of the details of it, and to
Behind
have
the
a couple
scenes.
of soon to be legends of the sport come in and speak to us and speak to all of our listeners. I mean, we really appreciate you guys coming in and
taking
letting
the
us
time.
know. And anyone out there that is looking for some more info, definitely hit these guys up at Polaris Mike and at Chris Olds, and then Team 10.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got a Facebook page as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I
10.
said, hit us up with any questions. I'm not super active on my social media, but now that wintertime's coming, I get more active and have a little more time to interact with people.
Respond to the aspiring young Iron Dogs,
especially guys that are. I
dreamers.
mean, I'll take my time out for sure. Especially if they're wanting to get into it,
Yeah.
I'll definitely put my time. But anybody has any questions, I love. You can ask my wife. I love talking Iron Dogs. So
That's
I
right.
bet.
And the race
sport.
starts.
She rolls her eyes.
What's the start of the race?
February 19th this year.
February
Yep,
19th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, that's the same day as the meet party.
Is it really?
Yep. So
Oh,
maybe we'll have to
sweet.
go out there and be out there for the start of the race or the end of the race. Big Lake, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Start of the race is the 19th. It's like early in the morning too, isn't it? I wanna say it's
It'll
like-
start at
about
11. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It'll start.
She had enough time to buzz back to town and get our meat party going.
Yeah, of course.
Nice.
Yeah, you guys should come out. Yeah, we appreciate
Oh, we
what
got
you
to.
guys
We'll
are
bring the
doing.
cameras out there,
Yeah,
get
for
a little
sure.
footage started out there for these guys.
Essentially, I think there's 29 teams, so 2-minute intervals. So, take about an hour to get everybody off. From the start to the last team, first to the last team.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, thank you guys. We appreciate you guys, and thank you to
Yeah.
the listeners and everyone that's following us. And go ahead and check out Team 10, and we appreciate it in Alaska.
Team 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
guys.
Yep. Stay wild, Alaska.
You remember my speaking to you of what I call your overcautiousness. Are you not overcautious when you assume that you cannot do what the enemy is constantly doing?
The Alaska Wild Project podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors.
The Bait Shack, located on Ship Creek upstream of the bridge. Can't miss the bright red shack. They are the go-to fishing gear rental and guide service on Ship Creek. Tight lines and fish on. Come hook into the action with them. Hit them up at thebaitshackak.com.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance company, providing services such as weekly lawn maintenance, driveway sweeping, snow and ice management, and tons more. Get your free estimate today at lawnproak.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located at 4th Avenue across from the old 4th Avenue Theater. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. From reindeer dogs to bomb euros, they've got you covered. Anchortown Dogs, your local gourmet hot dog and sausage cart.
Menegato's Accounting, locally owned and operated advisory and tax accounting solutions. Passion, experience, diligence. Learn more at menegatosaccounting.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted Alaskan-made cider. They also have a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out at doubleshovelcider.com.
Serrano's Mexican Grill, 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. The Northern Lights location has their new tequila bar. Check it out. Also see their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
AKO Farms, located in Sitka, Alaska, built from the ground up with concentrates as their single motivation. Find their products such as their sugar wax, full spectrum diamond sauce carts, and more at the Treehouse AK and other dispensaries around the state. Ask your local bud tender about AKO.
TheTreehouseAK.com, located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bud tender what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off. The Treehouse, where the culture lives.
Marijuana has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming and addictive. Marijuana impairs concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. There are health risks associated with consumption of marijuana. For the use of only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children, and marijuana should not be used by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
Tailored Restoration 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.